Hello everyone! Across the world of Azeroth, there rings out a radiant song. What is it? The voice of Azeroth? Somehow connected to Beledar? Is it a voice of kindness and light? Or the complete opposite, doom and darkness? What does it mean? There was once another world soul whose song was heard on the world of Karesh before the arrival of Dimensius the All Devouring, and a war that would cause death, destruction, and turn their people into the Ethereals. Safe to say, times are dire, and with the world soul inside of Azeroth calling out, who better to ask what is going on than her speaker, Magni Bronzebeard? Yet Magni hasn't spoken to her in quite a while. He's not even sure if he's still capable, but the stakes are high and he does his best. Nearly able to tell us where the next expansion is going to take us, but her voice is now powerful enough to be heard by many. To him, her direct speaker, who was always able to hear her, it sounds like she's screaming directly into his skull. It is simply too much. He gets overwhelmed and knocked out for a while, left within Dalaran tree cover, while we had to deal with Azeroth becoming much more active. Remembering things from the past so hard that they were brought back into being. Are these random nostalgia moments? Remember Ragnaros, Onyxia and the Lich King? Or are these specific moments chosen with purpose by Azeroth? Who's to say? But with the pre-event done, our speaker wakes up once more.
Father, are you alright?
Aye, lass, but I saw a vision of destruction. And the name, Khaz Algar.
This name is not entirely new, as several books were added when they updated Uldaman with Dragonflight, but we'll go over the details of the book once we actually reach Khaz Algar.
Once more, Dalaran is called to the aid of our world. Magni?
Azeroth showed me a vision of a city in flames in the ancient lands of Khaz Algar. Her voice was desperate. We must act quickly.
Archmage Drenden has proposed, and the Council agrees, that we bring the full force of Dalaran to this Khaz Algar. Make ready, our people, and prepare the city for teleportation. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together.
Once more, Dalaran makes ready to teleport into the fray. The magical floating city has been described as having one of the greatest concentrations of magic, other than Quel'thelas, in all of Azeroth. They did not prevent our command from turning its so-called stolen magics against itself and destroying it during Warcraft 3. After a rebuilding period, the Magi took the city to Northrend and later to the Broken Shores to help fight in the wars. Now you might wonder, who is this Archmage Drenden? With good reason, as Drenden, he just kind of vanished from the story for a while. He was once part of the Council of Six, the ruling body of Dalaran, mainly mentioned in the books, even confronted Quel'thelas when he was still alive and dabbling with dark necromantic magics. But then over time, he was replaced with no real mention or explanation as to what happened to him. With the war within, we see Drenden return home, instantly welcomed and accepted without too many questions asked, but I'm sure that's gonna be fine. He asks us to help strengthen Dalaran's defenses, while we also warn the people of what is to come, and we check in with the latest variation of the Dragonscale expedition. The League of Explorers are once again teaming up with the Reliquary, this time calling themselves the Algari Expedition, ready to explore these new lands and uncover its secrets.
It's even more amazing than I'd imagined. But my visions were of fire and war.
Something's wrong. I need to find Khadgar. Drenden. Where's the rest of the council?
Drenden's been dead for years.
All this time, and you never once sensed my presence. Oh, it's not time for that yet. But if you're so eager for a fight, perhaps this can keep you occupied. Until we meet again, Alleria. How could I be so blind?
Shockingly and surprisingly, Drenden wasn't Drenden at all. The man has been dead for a while, and nobody questioned his sudden return. In Dalaran's defense, not even Alleria, highly trained and attuned to the powers of the Void, was able to sense Xal'atath's presence. We're right where the harbinger wants us, Khaz Algar, but we can kick ourselves later. Right now, we're under attack, and the city needs our aid. So we go around, defeating as many Nerubians as we can, while getting citizens to safety. We'll dive more into the history of the Nerubians once we reach Ashkahet. For now, just know that they're connected to the powers of the Void, and they're in league with Xal'atath.
There could still be more survivors. With me, champion! Damn it all! Cut through the sewers and find Khadgar.
Glad to see you haven't evacuated yet. The Nerubians are capturing the rogues who live down here. Let's rescue them. A friend once showed me a path through here. Head to that sewer grate.
I don't recall an exact moment in the lore in which Anduin was playing around in Dalaran sewers. If you do know, by all means, let me know in the comments. But it is interesting that he knows about the Uncrowned, the super secret rogue order-hole organization, which we became part of back during Legion. The friend in question, they could be many. Maybe his spy master Shaw slipped some information, or Jaina, or Tess Greymane, or maybe even Valera Sanguinar. A lot of people trust and like the King of Stormwind, and that trust now gives us a path forward.
I'll get them to safety. Try to find Khadgar.
High in the sky and nowhere to flee. Gather all you can find. Bring them below. Xal'atath has plans for them.
Ronin's statue is destroyed like it's nothing.
Citizens of Dalaran, raise your eyes to the skies and observe.
While the Queen of the Nerubians gives the order to kidnap some of the citizens. We'd like to go after them, but the Queen's Guard keeps us rather busy. Amidst the chaos, we do find one last moment to fish in Dalaran's fountain. An old achievement had you fish up all the coins that people would throw in it, reading out some of the wishes that were left behind. A superstition that Xal'atath follows, as her rusty coin says, "The soul of your world in the palm of my hand."
There you are, champion. Take this portal down to Khaz Algar. Those who escape will still need help. I must first find Alleria. We'll meet you when we're able.
Khadgar. We meet at last.
Xal'atath, I presume.
This city is home to such power. All squandered by the Kirin Tor. I'll put it to much better use.
Like hell you will.
There you are.
Alleria!
Get out of my head! Khadgar!
This isn't the real fight.
Goodbye, Guardian.
The war within starts with quite the bang, as Dalaran is once again destroyed. The city that led the charge during Legion, with Khadgar rallying the troops, was witnessed by Xal'atath. She has seen that a united Azeroth under Khadgar's guidance could rise up to topple titans and defeat the Burning Legion. No wonder that she set her sights on the magical city and its so-called guardian. Not a full guardian, a big part of Khadgar's story was actually rejecting the powers of his mentor Medivh, holding on to the lessons of Warcraft 3, that the world no longer needed guardians and had to take care of themselves. But at the same time, he does walk and talk like a guardian, even wields the legendary staff, Atiesh, Great Staff of the Guardian, now shattered into pieces once again. But what exactly happened here? We know the Dark Heart can absorb magic, arcane magic, and turn it into shadow. The magical floating city of Dalaran, it had a whole bunch of that in store, not to mention the powerful artifacts and the prisoners, and so too did Khadgar, wielding the arcane for his spell work. It is all absorbed by the Dark Heart, but where does it go and what does Xal'atath want it for? A parallel can be drawn when we had a Trinket of the Heart, the Heart of Azeroth during Battle for Azeroth, ultimately unleashing its powers to vanquish the old god N'Zoth. But I doubt that is what Xal'atath is going to do with it. Then for Khadgar's fate, is he truly gone, or is he too absorbed by the Dark Heart? Who's to say? I've heard some ideas in the direction of turning Khadgar into an Nerubian. Personally, I'm hoping that Xal'atath is going to use Khadgar to get to Alleria, drive him insane, and show Alleria one of her failures, as that does seem to be one of her goals. While she could most definitely tear down the Windrunner in an instant, she doesn't, and there must be a reason as to why she wants Alleria. The Locust Walker once sensed a great destiny upon the Windrunner, but is that destiny going to be in our favor? For now, she had to witness one of her closest friends, the mage who'd fought with her all the way back during the days of the Alliance of Lordaeron and the first opening of the Dark Portal. One of the sons of Lothar, seemingly snuffed out, so Alleria is hell-bent on claiming vengeance and tearing Xal'atath apart. But we have Wounded to deal with first, and the Nerubians are not giving us a single moment to catch our breath.
Jaina! Thrall! We need help! Magni's in trouble.
Anduin! You're alive!
Follow me! Magni can't hold off Xerix much longer.
We'll hold the line. Champion, help Magni!
You are but fodder for my ascension. Die in Ansurek's name!
Come and get some, you chitinous bastard!
Swarms of us to hit! Rise and devour them!
We can't hold them!
Storm Riders! To ground, my soldiers!
trespassers! My directive is to protect the Isle of Dorn. Leave at once.
Trespassers? You saw us fall from the sky and fight for our lives. We need aid.
What you need matters not. Your presence is not authorized by the Titans.
The Titans?
Now don't you be talking to my daughter like that, you great stone!
An earthen, hardened like a diamond. A Thragar.
You've seen others? Akin to me?
I have only heard stories of their heroics. It is a sign from the Titans.
Laddie, it weren't Titan magic that...
What he means to say is, yes, of course, and we'd be honored to...
Dornigal! What disaster have you brought to our city, Outlanders? New directive. We must return to the city. All of us.
I serve the Titans unswervingly.
The Earthen are part of the Titan Forged, beings created by the Titan Keepers in order to help them with bringing order to Azeroth after the Titans defeated the Old Gods and their so-called Black Empire. This war brought order to the planets, neatly locked away the elemental lords in their elemental planes of fire, wind, earth and water. It neatly locked the Old Gods in their subterranean prisons, but keeping them locked away, maintaining the Titans' machines and upholding their orderly way of life. I was going to need more hands, hence the Titan Forged. Mechanomes, Vrykul, Earthen and others were churned out by the machines and put to work. However, the old god Yogg-Saron, like the other old gods, he desperately wanted to break out of his prison, and he managed to infect the machine with something called the Curse of Flesh. This weakened the new generation of Titan Forged. It gave them flesh, made them more vulnerable to the old god's corruption, and this curse would spread as the new Titan Forged came into contact with the old ones, resulting in new races like the Mechanomes becoming the Gnomes, the Vrykul becoming the humans, or the Earthen becoming the Dwarves. Yet here we see an interesting distinction written down in the book Observational Report Earthen. This one was added with the Uldaman revamp, our first mention of Khaz Algar, and while seemingly both the Earthen and the Dwarves were hit with the Curse of Flesh, their evolutionary path took a rather different turn. Fellow Watchers, when you were assigned to observe the state of our Titanforged subjects, who regretfully fell under the influence of flesh, the Keepers could not have anticipated the effort necessary to follow them as they spread throughout the world. I shall do my best to ensure your perseverance is recognized, but for now, you are to continue your duties until a new directive is authorized. It is apparent from your reports that the degree of transformation in Titanforged subjects is significantly diverse. There's no group in which this variance is more easily observable than the Earthen, while some have succumbed entirely to the melody, such as the Earthen who emerged from Uldaman and called themselves dwarves. Others remain resistant, whether in full or in part. One particularly notable variant can be found in the Earthen contingent dispatched to investigate the fissure detected in sector AR-938. For further details, search records related to geological anomalies. Sector AR-938, that is what they would call Khaz Algar, meaning that the Earthen of this area, they were sent here due to some kind of fissure, a geological anomaly. But what does that mean? Did the coreway suddenly open up? Did something crash down and make it? That's not revealed, but the Earthen here were sent out with a purpose. In the course of their duties, these Earthen began to manifest behaviors analogous to those which would one day be apparent in the Cell-style dwarves, despite the two groups being separated by vast swaths of time and distance. In fact, based on their origin dates, I could identify no corollary at all between these populations, yet while their behaviors, language and demeanor show many similarities, for example, assigning Sector AR-938 the colloquial name Khaz Algar, physiologically the two groups remain distinct. Is this distinctiveness due to the exposure to the unique qualities of the anomaly? Or is there another reason? We require more data before a conclusion can be reached. Did they evolve differently to the effects of the coreway? Azeroth influence perhaps? to be revealed, I suppose. We do learn from their place and scrolls scattered around that Keeper Arcadus left Watchers in charge to keep an eye on his beloved Earthen. One of them is called Watcher Dornic, which I assume is why they call this the Isle of Dorn, and in their honor they named the capital city Dornagal. But Watcher Dornic cared more about results than the Earthen.
Behold, beloved Earthen, I have generously provided you with a new leader, Dornic.
I am Watcher Dornic. Under my leadership, the Earthen shall reach their full potential. I command you to celebrate my arrival. Now that the Keeper is gone, get to work, you blockheads! I decree that you shall triple your production rates, or I will punch you down the core way. Wah-ha-ha-ha!
What is he doing? Dornic's brutality knows no bounds. I have made a terrible mistake. Rise up, my children. You have my permission to rebel against your cruel Watcher.
Traitorous Keeper! Wretched Earthen! You will all regret this! I've been struck! I cannot move!
Well done, my beloved Earthen. I promise to never leave you with such a tyrannical master again. Now, drag his husk from this place.
You will regret this, Earthen! My sister Galan will strike you all down.
Do not worry, my Stoneborn children. You will never have a cruel master again. You are my bedrock. You are my foundation. You are my beloved Earthen.
Where did Dornic end up? Who is to say? But his warnings about his sister would prove true. In the water, we can find Galan's edicts. I, Watcher Galan, erect this monument to forever be a warning. The Earthen shall know the wrath of the Titans if they defy their will again. From this day forwards, they will be bound more tightly to my will and that of our Titan overlords. If they again defy us or the Titans no longer require their aid, they will be forcefully deactivated with extreme prejudice. Such is my will, such is the will of the Titans. These Watchers think that their way of doing things, maximum results, is the same as fulfilling the will of the Titans. And who knows, perhaps they are right. Next to the monument, we see two shut down Earthen, I imagine as a warning. Now the actions against Dornic would not go unnoticed, and soon his sister would start interrogating Earthen to find out what happens. Note revealed that the Earthen would start to feel things toward their Watchers, which was weird because feelings were reserved for Keepers, Watchers and Titans, not the Earthen, and yet they do feel something calling. The Titans, they wonder, Azeroth's voice, or the effects of the Curse of Flesh. Something that turns into unease towards their Watchers, and the Earthen realize that the time has come to rise up, form an army, gather the weapons, dispose of Dornic while sparing his sister. She then goes on a rampage, murdering Earthen and abusing their memory crystals. Another echo of the past, it shows that someone, perhaps indeed Arcadus, showed up and agrees that Dornic earned his fate. Galan is misusing these memory gems. Both have defied directives, and so Galan was repurposed. No longer would she watch over the Earthen. Instead, she was reprogrammed to have her safeguard something for thousands of years. Yet somewhere along the way, the tunnel crashed on top of her, and Galan has been stuck ever since. What she's been guarding is probably held as a mystery for the future. But that is how the Earthen of Khaz Algar came here, and for a while, life was pretty repetitive. ordered, working like a machine, maintaining the core way and fulfilling their edicts. And we got another play that explains that there have been songs ringing out in the past.
The canyons in Hallowfall are getting darker, but the song is getting stronger. We must light the way. The song is louder still. But the Nerubians, there are so many. I must heed the call. We are all slain. Ahem. I said we are all slain.
And so the Thragar's adventure ended before they reached the bottom of the coreway.
Thragar is the same term they use when they see Magni.
Having a Thragar here in Donegal, it is an auspicious sign indeed.
What? Oh, right. Me? Oh, yes. A Thragar of old I am.
Will you be returning to your duties then?
Duties? Can you refresh my memory of what those are?
Of course. I suppose your memory is like mine. A little dim around the edges after a few thousand years. Our Thragar were the best of us. Chosen by the Titans and instilled with great power. They were our heralds, our generals. They made decisions for the Keepers in their absence. Your duty is to guide and protect us, to warn us of oncoming danger, which in a way, you have.
These other Thragar, they look akin to me.
They were larger, perhaps, but they shone, as you do, of hard minerals.
Azeroth, you fox. Did you do this on purpose? To pave the way here for us?
I'm sorry. My auditory functions did not catch that.
Needn't you mind. Had a stray thought. Thank you for jogging my memory.
A word titanic in origin, which is related to slightly larger beings that look similar to the King of Diamonds. Creatures of legends, which they haven't seen in ages. There's also a spot in the city called Thragar's Rest, honoring those that followed the voice before. But it seems their journeys ended in disaster, as their destiny was blocked off by the Nerubians. Could we perhaps fare better? Now you might wonder, how come this is the first time that we see Khaz Algar? And part of it is simply adding new stuff to the established story, but like eras in the past, for example Mr. Pandaria or the Dragon Isles or Suramar, they do try to give it a reason. Apparently, there are some massive storms around the isle, which make traversing it incredibly dangerous. One of the plays shows an Earthen actually daring to go across the horizon, find out what is beyond it, through the storms and dangers until making landfall, and immediately running into monsters.
Why are you attacking me? Oh no, I should never have left home.
This Earthen learned their lesson and quickly returned home, staying put where it is safe. Perhaps just a fable to make sure that the Earthen don't go anywhere, but we do know that the storms are very real, but that didn't prevent Khaz Algar to be a place of legends. And after the vision, Dalaran knew where it needed to teleport. We'll get more into hidden lands and the storms surrounding this place when we get to the Arathi of Hallowfall. But yeah, for a while, the Earthen, they followed the edicts, performed their duties in a system that would run basically automatically. Even when Keeper Arcadus entered his long slumber within Uldaman, these Earthen kept up their jobs, fighting the Nerubians, keeping nature under control, maintaining their core way, until, over 10,000 years ago, the world was sundered by the War of the Ancients. This war nearly saw the dark Titus Argerus summoned into the world. But the day was saved, and the demonic Burning Legion was sent back to where they came from. not without great sacrifice. Their magical fount of power, the Well of Eternity, it becomes so unstable that the land split apart, transforming it into what you know it as today, with the Maelstrom as an everlasting reminder of the Well. A lot of death and destruction, which Khaz Algar did not escape.
How long has Dornic been here?
Unknown. Our archive would contain that information, but as I said, it is non-functioning.
I should be writing this down. I'm standing here with a living relic. No offense, can you give me a rough estimate?
The archive's last access date was approximately 5,000 years ago. But Dornigal itself has been here much longer, since before the sundering that we believe damaged our machines. Unfortunately, our memories from that time have been overwritten.
Overwritten? You mean in the archive, or your memory personally?
An Earthen's memories are erased upon recharging. Hence the need to upload our memory gems to the archive with each charge cycle. I am not offended, but we are unfortunately in decline. Without a way to recharge, we will eventually all enter stasis.
When will that happen?
Sooner for some than others. In the next 10 centuries, we will all cease to function.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do not worry. We machine speakers are working hard to reinitiate the machines.
I hope it works, Speaker. Truly.
The machines meant to reinvigorate that spark of life that keeps the Earthen running. Their archives that are supposed to be used to store the memories from the memory gems, they were damaged. And over time, the Earthen ran into quite a bit of trouble. They were programmed to uphold the edicts of the Titans and perform their jobs, but the Titans, or their keepers, they've been silent for quite a while, and performing their duties became harder and harder. A rift between the Earthen started to grow, with basically 3 different directions. One was a group that refused to let go of the life that they knew, the Oathsworn. They were put here with a mission, and they would fulfill that mission no matter the cost. One was a group that figured, our gods are silent, our lives are changing, and so too must we. Break our oaths and find our own purpose in life, and they became unbound. And one was a group that figured, times are definitely changing, but we still want to perform our edicts, so in a world that has changed, how could we still accomplish this? So for example, amongst the machine speakers, we can find an Earthen with the edict to store away the memories of their fellow Earthen. And now their archives are gone, so what could they do? Well, what if they themselves would stop experiencing life, only use their own memory gem to store the stories of others and retell their experiences? In a way, they would still be performing their edicts, while the machines and original plans have failed them. What's really interesting to see is that if we go back to the original Earthen report, it says that both groups were hit by flesh, but they do show different paths. Perhaps having a pathway so close to Azeroth has stayed off the physical effects. Perhaps eating crystals had something to do with it, or something else entirely. But beyond the physical, we also see the Earthen develop things like feelings, emotions, kinship, and rituals. They speak about sending their fellow Earthen to upload the memories, and so a completely blank Earthen comes back, right? With just their prime edicts to perform their functions. And yet, by reintroducing them things like smell, the old friends or their loved ones, they come back to them. They come back to the surface and remember bits of the past. If these Earthen were created to simply be machines to perform their tasks, why are these things happening? Why are they feeling emotions like fear or sadness or grief? Some of the ones that stepped away from the edicts, they've designed their own ways of saying goodbye to the Earthen shutting down. Remembering those that came before and honoring their memories. This in turn raises more questions like, what about a soul? What exactly happens when they shut down? What exactly is placed within the Earthen that gives them the spark of life? And how is that evolved under the so-called influence of flesh, under the influence of the anomaly? A lot of interesting storylines with these things in mind. And while the Curse of Flesh might have been designed to weaken the Titanforged and make them more vulnerable, it would also give them freedom to rise beyond their initial programming and do things that their creators could never have imagined.
Dornigal! What disaster have you brought to our city, Outlanders?
In the distance, there's a massive explosion that's ringing out. The Earthen are not unfamiliar with the Nerubians, but it's been centuries since their last assault, and one of this size on the Coreway is quite the problem. So we fly out to help Baelgrim and his Storm Riders.
The Coreway. I have failed in my oath-sworn duty.
This time, they managed to destroy the Coreway, the path leading further down below. A path that we need if we want to get to Xal'atath. So it's time to get to work.
They are retreating. Well executed, Outlander. Now, I believe you and your friends have much to discuss.
We brought the Nerubians here.
No, the Nerubians were focused on the Coreway. The attack was another part of Xal'atath's scheme. So much chaos and destruction.
We have to regroup. Has anyone seen Khadgar?
No.
We will grieve him in time. But Thrall is right. Without reinforcements, we're at Xal'atath's mercy. But no matter what she's planning, we must stop her.
Jaina and I will rally the Alliance and the Horde. But it will take some time for us to sail back here.
Right. In the meantime, we'll stay here and keep the survivors safe.
You will. Not me.
Alleria, we need your...
No, you don't. I can't keep anyone safe. But I can hunt down Xal'atath. And make her pay.
Thrall and Jaina teleport away to get us some much-needed reinforcements. Magni and Anduin, they're both struggling with the wars within, so they discuss things over the drink, which leaves us with Moira to party with and her son Dalaran, quite a bit grown up since before the war within. You might recall him staring up at you from his crypt in Ironforge. He's a lot smarter now and loves exploring, like his Uncle Bran, but he doesn't know the dangers that adventures can hold quite yet. Moira keeps an eye on him though, while we learn more on the Earthen history, their troubles with the machines and the archive shutting down, and the eventual rift between their people.
The Titans uplifted 4 wards. The Council Ward, the Storm Ward, the Stone Ward, and the High Speaker, to keep the edicts and build the Coreway and its fortress, Dornigal. But the Titans left, and the machines stopped. The Unbound abandoned the edicts, and the High Speaker retreated to the ringing deeps. And now, the machine speakers are cut off from us, and we have no means to fix the Coreway.
Then it seems long past time you stood united. We need to find this Edelgone, rebuild your Coreway, and take care of the Nerubians once and for all. If this Edelgone can fix the Coreway, we should seek her out. I'm willing to be a liaison, if you be willing to speak with her.
You are correct. Storm Ward, new directive. Take them to Freywold Village.
I will comply. Follow me.
Baelgrim and Edelgone haven't seen or spoken to each other for millennia. As her stepping away from the edicts, it was seen as a great betrayal by the oath-sworn Baelgrim. However, Merrick's the Council Ward is a bit more flexible. It can see that we're going to need all the help that we can get to fix their Coreway.
Personal directive. Prioritize the wounded. We cannot fight if... unidentified. Another survivor from the crash?
I'm Moira, of the Dark Iron and Bronzebeard.
Baelgrim.
Stone Ward?
I am not the Stone Ward. You know that.
I know you abandoned your post.
And you abandoned us.
The Coreway was attacked. It must be repaired.
We were attacked too. You should have protected.
I can see there is some history between you. But if you haven't noticed, the Nerubians have you both in their sights. You need each other, age-old drama or not.
This is a waste of cycles. I will go to the quarry myself.
Then you'll be the first storm rider it's seen for centuries.
It must have been hard for you to walk away.
Yes, I was the Stone Ward. With the Stonebound, I built all of Dornigal, but I could not remain there. The Stonebound continued to mine and build and maintain. That was our edict. But after thousands of years, the Titans were silent, and yet we still built. My people wanted something more. Many began to drop their tools and leave for the wolds. I argued for them, that we all should be able to choose. But Baelgrim was furious, and Merrick's would not defy the Titans either. And so, I joined my people here.
Leaving all you know for what you think is right, that takes some courage.
Or faulty programming. We are free, but we did choose to live unprotected. And now, my people suffer again.
Well, I may be an outlander, but I think you're in the right. And these Oathsworn should be protecting you. Having a different opinion doesn't make you any less earthen.
That is not Baelgrim's assessment.
Well, let's hope he'll come around. For now, we can only help ourselves and get your people healed.
Reconnecting is a bit tense, but our Moira knows a thing or two about bringing clans together. The Unbounds would love to help, but the Nerubians didn't spare them either. Xal'atath had the Nerubians hit some key locations to stop us from going further. Some of the craftsmen have been taken away into the Earthcrawl mine, so while Baelgrim goes off to check on their mining operations, we join Bram Bronzebeard on our very first delve.
Stronger by the second! There's more to explore out there, and you know me, can't resist a good cave.
Keeper's beard! The quarry is overrun with Thungarians!
And whose fault is that? Your edict is to protect the Isle, not just the city and not just the Oathsworn.
Outlander, you gather the ore. Edelgard, how can I help?
That's the first time you've asked that question. But you can start by helping the injured.
The Earthen have been saved, and Baelgrim's eyes are a bit more open to what his stubbornness has accomplished. The Unbound are still his people, regardless if they stepped away from the edicts or not. As Baelgrim finally asks what they can do to help, we run off to gather some ore from the quarry overrun by the Thungarians. Their flesh will help heal the Earthen. Some of them are in such a bad shape that more aid is required.
Baelgrim, your help is appreciated.
You were right. I have been remiss in fulfilling my edict. Now the Coreway lies in ruin. I need your help, Edelgard. Just like you needed mine.
May all pass. She's fading.
My Stormrook can take her to Dornigal. Perhaps the healers there can help.
Baelgrim, thank you. Share your experience. Take one of the rams, Baelgrim. It's no Stormrook, but it's faster than going on foot.
I have never ridden one, but how difficult can it... Whoa there!
I'll bring the Unbound to the Coreway. We'll meet you in Dornigal.
This time, the Nerubians attacked the Proscenium, a triage site where they were healing the injured. Once more into the fray, Once more, our heroes take on the spidery foe, this time with the aid of explosive cinder brew, a fiery, potent brew enjoyed by all the Earthen.
I will crush you. I will crush all of you! Nerubians, rise!
Where is she? Where is Xal'atath? She must suffer for what she has done.
The core way is severed. You will never reach the harbinger.
Hold on! Help is on the way! Find cover, quickly!
They're retreating. Your cinder brew makes for quite the weapon, Wenbrand.
Meet us at the Foundation Hall, champion. The fight against the Nerubians is far from over.
The Earthen stand together and are ready to work on fixing the coreway. But knowing the Nerubians as they do, they'll see our backs turned and our attention focused elsewhere as the perfect moment to strike. Baelgrim has us join him to their rookery to rally their storm riders and set up a perimeter. Yet again, Xal'atath is one step ahead.
Before us stands the Storm Perch, Outlander. It is the command center and rookery for all storm riders. This is highly irregular. Why are these storm rooks tethered here?
Thank the Titans you are here. The Storm Perch has been breached, and the Storm Riders corrupted. Hurry! If we free these Storm Rooks, we can fly there, and try to end this madness.
Outlander, with me.
The rookie's been infected by the void, corrupting those inside and turned their edicts into far darker versions, like murder everybody. Goran, Baelgrim's second-in-command, was left in charge. But again, we can see that these are not emotionless robots. The void might play upon their darkest parts, but those parts are in there, like Goran's jealousy towards Baelgrim, and believing that he should have had the title, the glory, the role of Stormwards. We managed to clear out the rookery, even the grotesque amalgamation of corrupted Storm Riders. But Xal'atath still wins, as now nearly their entire order has been wiped out. The Storm Riders, comparable to the Wildhammer Griffin Riders, they can't protect Dornigal now. We only have a handful of peacekeepers left, so we stand no chance if the Nerubians would strike us here. Best to use Alleria as bait and lure them away, make a web of our own and capture Xerix in it. With Alleria drawing their attention, we prepare to blow up the Cinderbrew stock and take out a whole bunch of the Nerubians.
No! They severed all of the fuses!
Stay focused. These monsters cannot leave here alive.
Stubborn Earthen, you will not impede my ascension!
Outlander.
The fuses! We can't ignite the kegs!
I must fulfill my edict.
What? Forget the edicts!
I cannot. That is why it must be me. You must guide the Earthen.
Baelgrim!
One last ride, then you are free. Xerix! My directive is to protect this isle, and the Earthen. All the Earthen. Glory to the Titans! Long live the Earthen!
Baelgrim. Oh, twisting paths.
He's gone. We did it, but he's gone. The coreway's repairs must continue. It's what Baelgrim would have wanted.
Tell me what has happened. Council Ward, we
We have bad news. We have repelled the Nerubians, but Baelgrim is gone.
I see. So he fulfilled his edict.
Not just that. He defended the Earthen, both the Oathsworn and the Unbound. More than anything, he wanted us to stand together again.
Then we will honor his memory by doing so. It will take time to fully repair the Coreway, but the Outlanders can descend to the Ringing Deeps. The Earthen of the Isle of Dorn will support their endeavor, no matter what the edicts say. If we can bring the machine speakers back into the fold as well, then the Council will truly stand complete.
Thank you, Council Ward. Now, let's clear the last of that rubble.
I have...
Outlander, I will accompany you to the Ringing Deeps. It is my home, and it too may need defending.
It will take time to fully repair the Coreway, but enough work has been done for us to go to the next level, descend into the Ringing Deeps, amply named for the sounds ringing from the caverns as the Earthen toil away.
Speaker Brinth, the High Speaker, has the situation under control.
Under control? The station is in ruins.
Speaker Brinth hasn't been here for quite a while, so she's joining us, even though she was previously sent away by the High Speaker for not being reasonable. Right away, it's clear that things are not running as they should be down here. It's quite a mess. We even pull out a Skardin, which is a corrupted Earthen. Their origin lies within Grimbatol, where, once upon a time, Modgut, wife of Emperor Fauruzan, she fought in the War of Three Hammers. The Dark Irons going at it with the Bronzebeards and the Wild Hammers. With Xal'atath in hand, Modgut unleashed darkness upon the home of the Wild Hammers, and then Xal'atath abandoned her. The final words of Modgut were, "You promised," yet any kind of promise was never delivered. The death of Modgut would then influence Fauruzan's spellwork, who was full of vengeance and grief. He would in turn accidentally summon Ragnaros from the elemental plane of fire, which created the Blackrock Mountain and enslaved the Dark Iron Dwarfs to the will of the Fire Lords, and then, many centuries later, the kidnapping of Moira and the birth of Dagran Fauruzan II. Events of the past pushed along by Xal'atath, coming into play years later. Here too do we see the effects, as the spellwork that Modgut unleashed on Grimbatol, it would turn the home of the Wild Hammers uninhabitable. Yet the dwarves still stuck inside, they would turn into the Skardin. Here they show up once more. Things are quite a mess. Let's see what the High Speaker has to say.
A Skardin? Here? Does the High Speaker know?
That is not your concern. We do as he commands.
He's in the army.
Outlanders, this is the realm of the machine. And I am the High Speaker. And who is this? Brinth? I almost forgot I sent you away. I have been busy addressing our greatest problem, the Awakening Machine. What distractions have you brought before me this time, Prince?
These Outlanders crashed on our shores.
I have no time for your misadventures.
High Speaker, the Nerubians...
Enough! Outlanders, you may wander where you will. But when you are done, return from whence you came. The High Speaker has spoken!
He's mainly concerned about their awakening machine, the devices that got damaged with the Sundering. If nothing changes, all Earthen might shut down entirely in about 1,000 years, but their decline is already causing problems right now. With Earthen shutting down and no new units being produced, other creatures, like the kobolds, they've taken advantage. Led by their Candle King, they seem intent on war and domination of the Ringing Deeps. Not all of them are hostile monsters, though. Many actually want peace. Or so Skidder the Kobold tells us. But the Candle King is crazy and is forcing the kobolds into war.
Considering theory, if we depose this Candle King, then perhaps the raids on Gundergaz will cease.
And so, we retake the Lost Mines, slaying the kobolds and taking the candles. Less candles would make the king look weak, and bullies that look weak get killed. You know, take candle is a very old saying that haunt any classic adventurers that went too deep into a kobold mine, but they've added a bit more than just a memorable line. With Legion, there's the Devouring Darkness rare spawn that showed up when you doused all the candles. The Dark Flame Clefts takes it one step further, unleashing a massive, undefeatable darkness that chases us through the mines. The kobolds live underground and understand the very real threats when someone takes their candle. But not all flames are good and kind.
Think I not see what you do in my mine? Run round, steal candle, kill kobold. I'm Candle King. Snoot, snout, leave new friends. Elemental present. And closed door behind. We not entertain today.
The Candle King has found a purple flame, which increased his intelligence, and with a bigger brain, the wise kobold figured that he needed to get his protein and hit the gym. Get some gains and get bigger. Stronger, the ruler of them all. Yet those pesky voices that keep on calling to serve. Not even the kobolds are safe from the void. So we bring freedom to the oppressed kobolds and we offer them peace, a place to live with us. We'll still need a symbol of hope to rally the people behind one banner, an ancient relic called the Candle Crown. This is the heart of their people, but the Candle King tossed it to the side in favor of his dark flame candle. We sneak in, using the darkness to our advantage, and get the crown for Skidder. No longer shall these kobolds have to serve under the yoke of their false Candle King. Now they can live with us in Gundergaz and help clean up the place, share stories of their people, fight the good fights, and stay within the light.
I am sorry for what has happened to your people. I understand what it feels like to watch your home slip away.
At least we're friends now, yes? Not all is doom. More friends means less doom.
The number of working machinists is insufficient.
All the more reason to restore our awakening machine.
Are we preparing for more Nerubian attacks?
Earthen above us have fought that battle, and we've recovered from our own minor raid. Why haven't we heard more about Taylock? We're currently investigating. You would be wise to avoid that distant destination.
Taylock is best avoided, so says the High Speaker, which obviously means that we should totally check it out, with Dalaran and Magni, while Moira goes up the Coreway to speak with the Council. Now Dalaran has learned a lot from reading books and scrolls, but working in the field is quite a different challenge. Whereas our speaker Magni, he has lost his shine after saving the world.
Intruders, the beasts inside.
Did he just shut down?
Magni wasn't always so shiny and crystallized, but just before the cataclysm, the world was already rocking. People were dying, and they were desperate for some answers as to what was going on. So it was that the King of Ironforge decided to go through an ancient Titan ritual, which was said to allow him to communicate with the lands. Instead of just communicating, he became one with it, turned into a crystal, and for a while, people thought that he was dead. Perfect opportunity for his estranged daughter Moira to return home and claim the throne. Growing up, she had never been given respect by her father, simply for being born as a woman. But then she was kidnapped by the Dark Irons and taken seriously. Emperor Fauruzan showed her a world that she had never known, and she fell in love with him. From their love, a child grew, but her father simply thought that she was kidnapped and in need of saving. Heroes were sent out to slay the leader of the Dark Irons, Moira's husband, Dagran's father, that created a rift between Moira and Magni. Now, she would ultimately not claim the throne all by herself. Instead, the Council of Three Hammers was formed. Dark Iron, Bronzebeard and Wildhammer. All clans represented with a voice within either forge, and mayhaps her son would one day rule all of them. Then her father woke up as the King of Diamonds with Legion, but it didn't cause any political drama, as he now served a higher purpose, hearing the call of Azeroth, but that also left little room to heal the rift with his daughter. Once the day was saved, at the end of Battle for Azeroth, the King of Diamonds, he had done it. He had saved the planet, she'd been cleansed from the old gods, but he was still stuck in his form. He had performed his duties, but his rewards, it was to be unable to feel the touch of his kin. And that is where we found him at the start of the War Within, and that shine has not exactly gotten any brighter.
Enough knocking, champion! We're breaking this thing down!
It's changing. It's changing. Whoever you are, get in here.
We heard you! We're here to help! What's happening to them?
A Skardan transformation in progress. Fascinating.
Stay back, lad! Get away from him!
Granda! That surge of energy! The Skardan's reaction! How did you do that?
I don't know. We'll figure it out later. I can hear more coming.
The darkness has reached Talok. Its people are turned into Skardan, and their foreman left behind some messages.
Workers of Talok, as your foreman, I have met with the High Speaker in secret. The outcome was not what I expected. I have been altered. Perhaps even chosen. Change is coming, workers. Hordes of Skardan stir within the Hall of Awakening. Talok could be next. Barricade your doors, but be not afraid. We will press on. Can you hear it? The ringing. The ringing. It returns. The music is eternal. The itching. I can taste the sounds. Revelation awaits. The ringing. The ringing. We'll lock away deepest cavern for darkest memory. Don't. Speaker. Ringing. Don't let him destroy.
This looks like the right place. I don't see any signs of the foreman. We need to take a closer look.
Wait. I can hear wind blowing. From beyond the stone. It must have been a controlled cave-in. Champion, help us destroy the blockage! I'll press on till Azeroth is done with me. Is that the foreman? You were right, lad. Come on, we can't let that thing get out of this cave.
Infection!
We were too late. How many times have I been too late?
They got the foreman Bruncrag too, but not before she was able to throw out her memory gem, revealing exactly what is going on.
You speak the truth? Your artifact will repair the awakening machine?
It will perfect the machine. Your struggle, your suffering will be at an end. All will awaken because of you.
Because of me?
Your people will be restored, reborn, improved, and they will laud you as their savior.
Yes, yes. All Earthen will awaken!
Xal'atath has spoken with High Speaker Eirik and offers to repair their awakening machine. Bring them back to their former way of life. It's gonna be perfect with just one minor alteration. The newly awakened Earthen will awaken as Skardin, a big, corrupted Earthen army in service to the Harbinger. The High Speaker has become so desperate to go back to the edicts, to make things function again, that they're willing to pay any price. Thanks to the foreman, we now know what's going on, and the High Speaker will have to pay. Moira has also returned with some backup. The allies made up above have come to join the fight down below. Even our kobold allies are ready to lend their support, help us push through the Earthen works, and confront the High Speaker within the Halls of Awakening.
Must get away!
Rouse yourself, champion! The enemy advances! Looks like Varric's machine is still usable. Use that mechanical contraption to blast them to scrap!
Their combat suits will do us just fine to wipe out the remaining forces. The Ringing Deeps should now be a lot safer. Time to follow Brinth into the Halls of Awakening. Moira, Magni and Dalaran are at our side. Our young scholar is quite gifted at opening doors, while his mother packs a punch with both the light and the void. Magni knows a thing or two about delving into ancient titanic facilities, while all around us, mad Skardin corrupted Earthen are awakening.
I'll be damned if I let Bryn's people be turned into monsters!
This room seems different. Do the walls seem older to you?
I've seen rooms like this before. There's Titan machinery in here.
Outside, the Earthen rebuilt the machines, but the oldest ones remain unchanged.
It is time to step down, High Speaker. Everyone knows what you've done.
What I've done? Saved us all? I have found a path to our salvation!
You would have us all live as Skardin?
Better to live as a Skardin than die as an Earthen. It is done! Now, with this power, all Earthen shall awaken.
We've lost them all. It's over.
Granda, you can stop this. I've seen you wield Azeroth's gift. It's you. You're the only one who can save them.
Magni. It is time.
Azeroth, let your blessing pass to them.
You did it, Granda. You saved them.
Who are you? I'm... Magni. But who am I? Whoever you want to be.
Seems like Azeroth's speaker had one final purpose to fulfill: pass on her gifts and stop the corruption of the awakening machine. Did Azeroth know that this was going to happen? Personally, I like to think that this connects to the differences that we see with the Earthen evolution. That's being close to the coreway, to Azeroth's voice, that it has her be aware of the fate of the Earthen, and that she's concerned about them. In a similar way, how the Earthen found themselves granted emotions and a voice to rise up against their abusive watchers, perhaps Azeroth also put things into motion to fix the machines that were damaged. That's pure speculation though. All the same, the effects are clear. The machines have been fixed and granted Azeroth's blessing. Soon, we shall have new Earthen join the Alliance and the Horde as a brand new allied race. The High Speaker does escape in this moment. But don't worry, he is soon enough taken care of within the Stonefall dungeon, leaving the machine speakers without a leader. But that's where Brynth comes in.
The High Speaker has ruled for as long as any of us can remember. But he's no longer one of us.
Well, sounds like you need a new High Speaker. And Brynth, you're the right Earthen for the job.
Me? Elaborate.
You cared for your people like no one else has. Not by commanding, but by understanding.
Then you know I will leave it to my people to decide.
Something tells me they already have.
Honor Guard, reporting for duty. If you'll accept the position.
I accept. I am the High Speaker.
Then for the leadership of the dwarves, Magni Bronzebeard has returned in the flesh, but he wasn't interested in the throne back in Legion, nor does he seem to be interested now. One potential future idea for him that could be related to the story of the Ashbringer. The crystal that was used to infuse this legendary blade. It was capable of turning the undead into ash. That was a crystal capable of switching between light and dark, depending on what power was fed. The Ashbringer was crafted by Magni, grieving for his fallen brother Myrddin, who he thought had died to Arthas picking up Frostmourne. Now there's another crystal capable of switching between light and dark, which I think could be a cool connection to finally explain the origin of the crystal within the Ashbringer. But that is a potential. Now for the political situation, we see the legacy passed on to the next generation. Moira picks up Fearbreaker, the ancestral hammer of the Bronzebeard clan, which has quite the mind of its own when it comes to who gets to wield it. At first, she didn't really want anything to do with it, but she quickly warms up to the idea, holding on to it, and perhaps one day she'll pass it on to her son Dagran.
So, now that you've changed, how do you feel?
I feel humbled. Like I've carried a burden for a long time. Like I've finally been forgiven. I've had debts to pay.
Forgiveness shouldn't be easy. When I was much younger, we clashed a lot. Some things, well, there were things I couldn't forgive you for. When you were in your other state, I at least knew you were learning. I didn't want to forgive you. And I didn't want you to forget what you've done. What you did.
What changed your mind?
Well, watching you and Dalaran. He sees you differently than I do. He sees who you've become. You're here for him.
Alas, my old life. I can't live my life that way.
Aye. You need to be here and do right. For both of us. You can see how much you mean to Dalaran.
I understand. I've changed, and my life has changed. I don't want to live in the past. I want our family to have a future.
Then I'm glad we still have our future.
Onward and upward. On to the next adventure.
Anduin has heard some weird stories from the Earthen, who keep on calling him Arathi. Surely that's impossible, right? It can't be that they know who the Arathi are, and yet they do have accommodations for the humans.
But we had no access to the core way, and helping another culture was outside the Oathsworn's edicts.
Perhaps they need our help as well. Thank you for your help, Adelgon.
He wants to go into Hallowfall and find out more, where, beyond belief, the rumors are revealed to be true. The history is that once upon a time, the Titan-forged Vrykul got hit by the curse of flesh, just as the Earthen did. While the Earthen turned into dwarves, the Vrykul would turn into humans. And in the beginning, they lived a very tribalistic lifestyle. Imagine different camps with different clans, but one man could see the truth. Man divided is weak, man together is strong. Thoradin of Arathor knew that the humans had to unite and come together if they wanted to survive in this hostile world of Warcraft. Survive threats like the Amani trolls, who did not particularly like all these new races taking over their troll lands. Now, an interesting side note when talking about the Amani, underneath Zul'Aman there lies the corpse of Kifix. This Kefrax fought together with Zakash against Keeper Tyr. While Zakash will be blown up by Tyr, hence why they call the area Tyr's Fall, right, the place where Tyr fell, the dead Kefrax would still cause trouble, leading to the death of Thoradin and then many years later be devoured by Xal'atath. Meanwhile, Kifix managed to run away a bit further until it too fell to its wounds. Thousands of years later, Xal'atath would lead the troll Zando to the body of Kifix, convince him that making blood sacrifices would be really cool, and so the troll did, and all of them died a horrible death, while the Kefrax roamed Azeroth once again. The trolls united, and with great sacrifice managed to defeat him. Atop the site where they had killed Kifix, the trolls established a settlement which would one day grow into the temple city of Zul'Aman. Just an interesting side note to keep in mind for the future. So Thoradin, when still alive, he went around uniting the humans by peace talks, embracing religion, political marriages, and sometimes simply displaying what a badass he was in combat. In the end, a powerful empire rose, the Empire of Arathor. Their neighbors, the High Elves, also fought with the Amani trolls, and while the High Elves' magical powers were great, the trolls had Voodoo and Loa at their side. Victory was not guaranteed, so the Elves offered an allegiance to the humans, which Thoradin accepted under one condition. He wanted the Elves to train 100 of his people in the ways of magic. So it was that the union of High Elf and humans ended the so-called Troll Wars, given the Amani defeats that they would never really recover from. With victory earned, humans and elves partied hard, and we all know what happens when you win and get to live another day. You celebrate life. This war would secure an allegiance between elf and humans that would last through the ages. If and when the line of Arathor ever needed the elves' help, they would answer the call, which is why centuries later, Anduin Lothar could call upon their promise, ask the elves to join the Alliance of Lordaeron in the war against the Hordes. With the threat of the trolls gone, this human empire kept on growing. Their king Thoradin would pass away and new leaders would take over. With the generations, the humans expanded their nation in size and power. Around 2700 years ago, we'd see them set up places like Lordaeron, Gilneas or Dalaran. These small trading outposts and cities, they would grow into mighty city-states of their own. And eventually, their capital, Strom, it saw its influence over these regions slip away. That's the history that we know. But then, we don't have confirmation yet as to how or when this Arathi Empire of Hallowfall came to be. But what makes sense to me is that if around 2700 to 1200 years ago, we would see the fracturing of the original empire, and these kingdoms, they would flourish in their own rights. People would set sail and form places like Quel'thelas. What makes sense to me is that during this time period, some of their high elves, their humans and their half elves, they decided to set sail and establish this Arathi Empire somewhere in the world. Then, for some reason, they got disconnected from the other side of the world for a very long time because they call the land that we come from the Old Lands. Think back to areas like Pandaria, right? Or the Dragon Isles being hidden away for millennia. Where they went to is anyone's guess. One option would be the highly speculated other side of Azeroth. The idea that what we've seen of the world so far is only half of it. And while the globes in the game have proven wrong time and again, there is the difficulty of actually being able to look at Azeroth from space, see the entire thing spin around. At the same time, how often have we not seen new entire land masses simply pop into existence? There are reasons and spins they can give to it. If we have magical mists, or Titan cloaking devices, or magical bubbles that keep areas locked away from us, there are ways of coming up with reasons for these Arathi. Another reasoning can be found in yet another book that they added with Dragonflight. This one is titled The Tragedy of Erenethria. It speaks about the green dragon Erenethria being bored with exploring the same places, wondering if there are any mysteries left to discover, and our heart calls out to figure out what is beyond the storming sea. The keepers tell her that beyond the storming sea lies only ruin, but Erenethria needs to figure out for herself. And so, despite the warnings, she journeyed to find out what was west of Westeros. Most believe the keeper's words have been true, that indeed only a ruin was found, but others have seen Erenethria in their dreams, seen that she reached a land beyond, where she has raised a brood of her own. So while that part, right, where did the Arathi come from and what is the timeline, while that is still to be discovered and explained, we do know that the Arathi, they have an emperor deeply connected to the powers of the light. Similar to, for example, Prophet Velen, this emperor is able to predict the future, not only to see what is to come and let destiny flow as it does, they sometimes actively work to forestall events of prophecy, and thus their empire has flourished. Now at some points, over at least a decade ago, I'd say around 20 years-ish, the Emperor gets a vision about Beledar, the crystal within Hallowfall, and a great war between light and void, a war called Renilush.
The Emperor's vision. A prophecy of light, battle, and victory for the Arathi and the Sacred Flame. I was newly raised to my position. Being entrusted to seek out an Imperial prophecy was a great honor. Our armada braved the storming sea and its impassable tempest. I thought that final storm was sure to scuttle every airship. Instead, there was a radiant flash. The Emperor's vision, exactly as he had foreseen. The light transported us beneath the surface of Azeroth. But still under the light of this star we named Beledar. So many died as the Armada crashed into the cliffs.
The Armada's teleportation down below, it made for an extremely rough arrival. Many of their braves died as their ships crashed upon the rocks. In a cruel twist of fate, all their mages with the knowledge on how to make portals back home, they died as well. Although there are some that find that a bit too coincidental. and wonder if there wasn't betrayal from within. The result is still the same though. They have no way of teleporting home, and while some of the mages left are now desperately trying to figure out how to make those portals themselves, even those actions are being sabotaged.
That crystal.
Star. We call it a star. Beledar, the Emperor's vision of holy light.
A vision of light. Deep under the ground.
We're the Hallowfall expedition of the Arathi Empire. We followed our Emperor's sacred vision across the sea to fight in Renalash, the final battle between light and dark. As we crossed the sea, we were caught in a storm. The fleet was, enveloped in golden radiance. In a flash, our entire armada was transported down here.
Following their Emperor's sacred vision across the sea, it was not just to find this mysterious crystal. They're here to fight in Renalash, the final battle between light and dark. We have potentially heard prophecies about this before. In the Velen Anduin short story, the prophet looks upon the boy, and he saw a man joined by dragons, Naru, alliance and hordes, fighting against the massive darkness of the universe. There's also a comic in which Old Man Anduin makes ready for the light to triumph over shadow. And now we have the Song of Renalash from the Arathi. 15. The Arathi, guardians of the sacred flame, formed the Aegis Shield, a constellation of courage against the encroaching darkness. Their resolve, a beacon in the night, as stars began to fade into shadow. 16. The Harbinger's forces, nightmares of legs and claws, spun from the loom of oblivion, skittered across the battlefield. Their movements, a grotesque dance, echoed to the discordant rhythm of a world teetering on the brink. 17. The wall, built with the living rock of titans, bore the weight of the conflict. Each stone a silent witness to the struggle, whispering tales of valor to the winds, stirring the spirits of warriors long gone. 18. The remains of gods, scattered across the battlefield, pulsed with an unseen light. Their echoes, a clarion call, stirred the Arathi, compelling them to fight, to kill for the world's dawn. 19. Amidst the chaos, the Forgotten One cried, "When the last star fades, the Emperor's crown will weigh heavy with the sins of 1,000 years." The stalwart soldiers threw down their spears and wept tears of blood and burning anger. Not exactly a clear-cut prophecy, but we do see mention of the Harbinger, and perhaps this last star fading could be the final Titan. Azeroth plunged into darkness. Only time's going to tell, but that is how and why the Arathi arrived within Hallowfall. A rough arrival, yet at the very least, Beledar was there for them. We don't know what the crystal is, but we do know that it's not the tip of Sargeras' swords. When the Arathi arrived, the crystal was already there. They'd settled and built up their settlements, even go up above and interact with the Earthen, until the so-called Day of Darkness, the day that Sargeras stabbed the world.
I wish Khadgar were here. He'd know what it all meant. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to...
No. You're right. I wish he was here as well. We'll have to find our own answers.
I've gotten a look at the crystals and their key flames. It's not Azerite, but it's close enough that I think they're connected.
Then you've realized when Beledar shifted for the first time?
Their Day of Darkness. The same day Sargeras plunged that sword into Azeroth.
Years later, there was a great rumble. We thought the cavern was going to collapse. It was the Day of Darkness. The first time Beledar shifted to shadow. We had put down roots by then. My soldiers left to make homes for themselves. They started families. Flames, help me. There are children now.
Plunging his sword into Azeroth caused the crystal to darken, and there have been several ideas as to why. Some think it has to do with the blood of the old gods breaking loose. Some think that Xal'atath might have thrown out some corruption when we sacrificed our artifacts. There's the NPC in Syllabus that responds differently to our transmog weapons. It is something to be revealed, but for the Arathi, it doesn't matter much why. What does matter is that now their major source of light, it sometimes turns to darkness. The Nerubians have been a threat the moment they arrived, and the cobwebs like to strike from the waters, dragging their victims away for a tasty, often still lively snack, only to then use the image of the devoured to lure other Arathi away. And with Beledar darkening, some of the Arathi's faith, it started to dim as well, as they have gathered as the Order of Night. Standing here, the closest I've been to Beledar, the truth that is deep within my heart tells me that I've been fooled. We came here seeking the sacred flame, and all we have found is a deeper struggle. We are fighting on the losing side of a war that will never end. Is the light, the flame's true salvation? Is it? All I see is darkness around me, around Beledar. So much of it seems infinite. It is time to embrace the only truth. The light of the star is just an anomaly within its vast ocean of darkness. I am the seeker of darkness. I am deprived of all hope. In my very heart is shadow. I am the harbinger of the night. The Order of Night is in league with Xal'atath. And similarly to how we have very little certain information about Beledar, so too do we not know a whole lot about Xal'atath.
The Harbinger is from the Black Empire? Flames. One of the old gods?
No, something else. A survivor from the depths of time.
Not an old god, but something else. The form Xal'atath walks around in is not a true form either. This is merely a body that she inhabited during the questline in which we set her free from the blade. She's also shown to clearly be able to transform in whatever she wants to look like. The Locust Walker knows about Xal'atath, indicating that she's been off-planet before. Is Beledar perhaps the ship in which she landed on Azeroth? Her blade was a prison. Who put her in there, and how come a bargain with the old gods was able to set her free? Even imprisoned, she had influenced moments in Azeroth's past. Some of these moments now coming to the forefront again within the World Soul Saga. She is connected to the powers of the Void, and such a powerhouse that a prodigy Void wielder like Alleria can't sense her, nor do anything but crawl on the floor when Xal'atath wills it. She could have destroyed us 100 times over, and yet she doesn't. Why? What are her true intentions? Speculative, I think she wants to convert Alleria to her side and do something with the Sunwell to maybe have us lose in the first expansion, plunge the world into darkness, add a bit of a time skip and make us crawl back to the top in midnight. But that is pure speculation. Going back to Beledar and the Darkening, there's the potential that the Order of Night isn't wrong either, and that the original state of the crystal is supposed to be darkness. One of the Earthen plays, it speaks about the Tragar. Creatures of legends that were around millennia ago that have traveled through Hallowfall, and during their time, the canyons were extremely dark. Could it be that they're just talking about the deeper reaches of Hallowfall, or perhaps, before the arrival of the Arathi, the crystal was originally dark? Who is to say? Still, so much delicious lore to be revealed. Yet while some of them see their faith falter, others rise up and become beacons of light themselves. The Lamplighters are on the front line, keeping their holy flame burning, keeping the faith in their people's hearts. Farron Lothar is one of those, a child that was not meant to be part of the expedition.
So many died as the Armada crashed into the cliffs. We thought the eternal flame of Erethdor snuffed out that day. Then, as we labored to rescue this stowaway child, Farron, we discovered that she had preserved embers of the flame, at risk to her own life. Brave fool. Yet I'm eternally grateful that she held on to that symbol of hope. Don't tell her I said that.
I was never even supposed to be in Hallowfall. I stowed away to escape a family that only ever saw me as a failure. Was it a mistake? I lost an eye and an arm for it. Does that make me unworthy of the light? I regret nothing. I keep fighting because in the darkness, it's all we can do. I can't give up. It's not in my nature. And I don't think it's in yours either.
A stowaway to escape a family that only ever saw her as a failure. She saved their sacred flame during that rough arrival at the cost of an eye and an arm. Yet despite that heroic deed, no one was apparently willing to take her in, as they founded the orphanage within Meladar for her. The name Lothar should ring a bell, as that's the same family name of Anduin Lothar, epic hero amongst the Alliance of Lordaeron with a bloodline to Thoradin of Arathor, which allowed him to call upon the aid of the elves. He was a legend, which is why Varian decided to name Anduin after him, but Varian explains that...
Did I hear that right earlier? You're, Lothar?
You know the name?
Know it. I was named for Anduin Lothar, one of Stormwind's greatest heroes. He was close friends with my grandfather, King Lane Rin. Few names hold higher esteem. You must be a lady, or...
Oh no, don't you start using formalities on me. My family is noble, but it's been long since we've seen great fortune. To think I had relatives in the old world. Wonderful. I hope I can live up to such legends.
While some wondered if there was a direct connection between Anduin Lothar and Farron Lothar, it is clear that, while they might share a similar name, they're not exactly directly related. Nor does the name Lothar still have the same glory in the Empire as it does on our side. The Big Book of Arathi Idioms explains the term Lothar's Landing. Duke Lothar annexed the island of New Light, sparking an economic boom in the Empire. Lothar's Landing became an idiom for hopeful but uncertain trade or diplomatic initiatives by the Empire, often said with dripping sarcasm when the venture fails to find success. So if I read it right, being a Lothar is not exactly a guarantee for success amongst the Empire. And considering Farron was willing to join an uncertain expedition into an unknown land to escape her family, one can only wonder what life is truly like within this Arathi Empire. If and when we get to visit, will they be our allies? Or will we find a city of zealots driven by the prophecies of the Emperor, as not only do we have the cultists of the Order of the Knights, we also have those on the other side of the extreme spectrum, diving so deep into the secrets of their sacred flame that they're able to resurrect their fallen.
An army of the risen, the Arathi will defeat the Nerubians, conquer Khaz Algar, and subjugate the world!
By the light, it shines as brightly as the sun. Are those airships? But we're underground. I hear the radiant song. Is it coming from that crystal?
Whatever Beladar is, it speaks to Anduin, which might be because of his deep connection to the lights. Or, well, he used to have that connection, but these days, Anduin lost all faith in himself, in his role as a king, his worthiness of the lights, and the lights very much responds to conviction. That is his war within, the boy king dealing with his trauma of the Shadowlands, but to be honest, Anduin's whole life has been a struggle. Lost his mother at an early age. His father was then kidnapped, leaving Anduin to rule in his stead. Ask adventurers for any news about his father. Varian then returns, split into two by the Black Dragon Onyxia's magic. Onyxia was exposed, and in retaliation kidnapped Anduin to her lair. Varian rode out to save his son, and was then magicked back together. But not the man that he used to be. His aggressive Logash side kept him alive in the arena. But without balance, it also hurt his loved ones, like Anduin, who would decide to live with Uncle Velen for a while, diving deeper into his connection with the lights. Varian would go through the Worgen ritual and embrace both sides of himself, bringing back balance and restoring the bond between the Rins. Gerard's Hellscream then shattered every bone in Anduin's body, while the prince saved us from the Divine Bell, for then the Legion to show up, and Varian sacrificing himself on the broken shore. With no time to grieve, Anduin had to step up and do what a king must do, lead the Alliance through great times of turmoil against the Burning Legion and then against the Hordes. War Chief Sylvanas Windrunner was disposed, and peace followed, an armistice that lasts to this day, but Windrunner had more in store. She kidnapped Anduin and other leaders into the Shadowlands, into the arms of the jailer, where most of Anduin's current trauma comes from, as Sylvanas decided to do the same thing to Anduin as Arvis had once done to her. She forced Anduin to serve the jailer, be dominated by his will, perform acts so against his nature that momentarily Anduin overcame the chains of domination and fully realized what he'd been doing, for then the leash to be tightened once again, and he felt himself slipping further and further away. We do not know every moment that Anduin spent with the jailer. But what Sylvanas did to him haunts him still, for he is not certain where the line lies between his own actions and that of the jailer. Someone forced him to do things that he never wanted to do. How could he possibly return home and lead his people when the man that he thought he was had proved to be just as corruptible as the rest of us, when he had tried to kill his friends and loved ones?
Your kingdom and your friends are awaiting your return.
My friends. The ones I almost killed. They believe my hands are clean. But they don't feel clean.
It is perilous to confuse what you are made to do with what you choose to do.
How can I not when it all blurs together? It was so horrific and exhilarating. And it sickens me to think that satisfaction may have been mine.
Ah, so that's why you've come. You fear you might not be who you thought you were.
I'm starting to wonder if I ever knew. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid that if I call on the light, it won't answer. If I've no trust in myself, how can I expect my kingdom to trust me? To put their faith in me when mine has faltered?
Must you bear that weight?
After the self-imposed exile, Anduin heard the call of Azeroth, and despite his own misgivings, believing that he is no longer the man worthy of trust and love from others, he still steps up and offers to help any way he can. When hearing the rumors of the Arathi, he could do nothing else but to investigate. A party with the Arathi soon reveals that they're dealing with many threats at once. The Nerubians of Ashkahet are not friendly towards these lightwielders, but the Arathi have one major advantage: being able to jump on the airships and fight from the air. They're just about to finish construction of their flagship, the Dawnbreaker, a new warship design with the firepower to turn the tide in this endless war against Ashkahet. The ship is absolutely massive, and of course, a prime target for the Nerubians. Best to make sure the ship doesn't go down, while also dealing with the kobolds, behemoths, light zealots of the Arathi, and then finally the Order of Night, founded and led by Elric Lead, fully in league with Xal'atath.
What is happening?
It's Beledar, our star. It shifts between the light and this. The Dawn Towers hold back the darkness with the sacred flame, but the light always returns.
The stars are devoured, and they light a candle. You know how this ends, Alleria. Inevitably, the void consumes everything.
Show yourself, monster!
You know where to find me. Deeper in the darkness.
There's a chill in the air. I will scout ahead.
Be careful, Alleria.
A beacon in the dark. A wave of shadow. What just happened? Those shadows came from the Dawn Tower.
Farron, wait! We must withdraw to Merildar!
The Dawn Tower. What is happening to it?
The harbinger has whispered to me of your arrival and your failure at Dalaran.
as your master!
No! The sacred flame! What has Alric and his cults done?
I don't know. But they claim allegiance to Xal'atath, and so their lives are forfeit.
The flame is corrupted. Can we restore it? This shadow... It's too much!
Anduin, help her. Call upon the light once more.
No, I can't. There must be another way.
We carry the flame in...
Look out!
What are those things? They hardly seem real.
A trick of the shadow. I will deal with them. You all go ahead.
If we stop that ritual, I should be able to cleanse the flame. The harbinger comes!
Light be my...
Stand strong! The darkness won't take us today. Anduin, your light. What happened to it?
It doesn't matter. I'm no longer worthy of it. More shadows. We're trapped in here, aren't we?
No, we're not giving up here. Let's go. We can do this if we stick together.
The light shines through you. But what if it goes out? What if you failed your people?
You think I've never failed? I've never made mistakes. I was never even supposed to be in Hallowfall. I stowed away to escape a family that only ever saw me as a failure. Was it a mistake? I lost an eye and an arm for it. Does that make me unworthy of the light? I regret nothing. I keep fighting because in the darkness, it's all we can do. I can't give up. It's not in my nature. And I don't think it's in yours either.
You don't understand. I've hurt people. I was controlled by darkness, but part of me enjoyed it.
Enjoyed hurting people? Or no longer being able to agonize over every thought and action?
I will always try. Will I be free?
Having doubt, making mistakes, none of these make you unworthy, Anduin. They light your path forward.
Enough of your illusions, Xal'atath!
Belladar's light has returned! Thank you, Alleria.
Alleria, we would have been lost without you. Thank you.
I'm glad you're all safe. Let's end this.
Join me, please.
You know the light is not with me.
There is no darkness so deep that the light cannot reach us. Just be here with me. Now, breathe. We are the seekers of light. We are the holders of hope. In the very heart of shadow. We are the lamps that guide the way. It's a first step. The rest is just time and trust. We need to return to Merodar. I need to let the General know what happened here.
This Order of Night is no mere cult. The harbinger they speak of is Xal'atath. She won't stop. Your people need to be ready.
Anduin's journey towards potentially reigniting the lights is thankfully not done in one single zone, but the first steps are being made. Meanwhile, Alleria is being whispered at, being told that these candles are nothing to the great darkness that awaits. The Harbinger has her eyes on Windrunner, beckons her to come to Ashkahet.
That's the warning bells of the main gate.
Children, inside!
The kobolds strike our veneration grounds during Beladar's light. How?
Look, General. Darkfire. This is Auric's doing.
The Harbinger manipulates the kobolds through their hunger, and the Arathi through their fear. Yes, yes! Night falls! Renalash begins! Join me in the shadows. Bring the Harbinger joy!
Alric's ritual is the source of this darkness. We need to break through this barrier!
He draws strength from the darkness. So do I. Alric thinks the shadows will save him. He should see what true power looks like. Now! Go for the kill!
The Harbinger spoke of you. She has taken an interest in you. Harbinger! Do not forsake me!
How could any Arathi be in league with such monsters? The sacred flame is lost! Fall back!
No. We cannot keep retreating from the darkness. Our fear has overshadowed our faith. Beladar may have guided us, but it is not what will save us. Stand with me against the shadow. Show this Harbinger the true strength of the Arathi.
And if you fall against the darkness, what will we do then?
It's what we always say, General. The light will return. Even if someone else carries the torch. We are the seekers of light. We are the holders of hope. In the very heart of shadow. Together, we guide the way.
Arathi, friends, the flame blesses us with victory. Your courage against the dark has saved the day.
General, the Nerubians. They've opened a new front at Light's Redoubt.
Flames. Arathi, mount up! Light's Redoubt calls for help. We bring hope into the darkness.
Livia's patience is overrun. We must buy the villagers time before the reckoning can launch.
Everyone is evacuated. The Nerubians are massing for another assault. Fall back!
We have to get out of here, now!
Where's Anduin?
even if someone else carries the torch.
Where did they take him? Do you see Anduin?
They dragged him down! I lost track of him.
Ash! We can't let them reach Mereldar! Blast them apart!
Darkness hungers. Let's give Xal'atath's forces a taste of their own shadows. We've beaten them back. Let's get Anduin!
Hold on! We don't know what's down there. Reinforcements are on the way. We could wait.
We'll lose his trail.
You're right! Let's make those monsters pay for everything they've done! Flames! They were ready for us. Brace yourselves!
Anduin follows in his father's footsteps, but is now lost to us within Ashkahet, home base of the Nerubians. Their origin comes from the days that the old gods ruled the world, and from their blighted forms came horrific creatures like the Faceless Ones, but also the Aqir. After the old gods' defeat and imprisonment by the Titans, the Aqir would nestle across Azeroth and bask in the lingering influence of the old gods. Yashiraj's influence would turn them into the Mented, Kafoon's influence turned them into Karashi, but under the influence of the old god Yogg-Saron, the Aqir turned into Nerubians. You're probably familiar with the Nerubians from Northrend, the dungeons Ankahet and Azul Nerub. Those Nerubians were led by the king Anub'arak, and they fell upon hard times with the arrival of the Lich King. While the Nerubians proved to be immune to his plague, the necromantic powers of the Lich King did prove effective. So his armies chopped away at the Nerubians. The fallen were resurrected to serve their enemy. King Anub'arak knew that this war wasn't playing out in their favor, so he asked Queen Neferus and Ashkahet for aid. But when Ankahet called, Ashkahet refused to answer, believing that Anub'arak had asked for this war and that they should not throw away the lives of their people. We can only wonder if the aid of Ashkahet would have made a difference and changed the course of history on Azeroth, but the Queen's refusal meant the demise of Anub'arak and his undead resurrection into the traitor king. That empire in Northrend did not do so great. And while Ashkahet has not really been mentioned before, it's not impossible to imagine that the Nerubians spread out further than just one of their kingdoms. In-game books within Ashkahet reveal more about that unknown part of the history. Queen Anub'arak, the first queen of true Nerub. In ancient times, before the Children of Stone, or the strands of queens and sages, there was an empire born of darkness. It was a time of death and war. Hosts of armies swarmed in numbers 16 and 5 times the people of the last kingdom when this record was strewn. From that crucible of darkness rose a leader who foresaw where the darkness would lead. Anub'arak was a unique creature, crafted with the power of a lord and the memory of a sage. They were made to command and lead legions into battle that they would not survive. And so Anub'arak defied the Dark Ones that had helped in her creation. With her army, she led them deep into the earth and away from the front of a lost battle. Spurned by endless war, unwilling to sacrifice more of her people, Anub'arak would become the first queen of the true Nerubians. Thus, our people became a people and would never be puppets of the Empire of Darkness again. Some of this information is going to be up for interpretation, so please call me out in the comments if you think I got something wrong. An empire born of darkness, I imagine that is the Black Empire, the time in which the old gods ruled Azeroth and the Aqir emerged out of their blighted forms. Their numbers were much greater than what they have now in the Last Kingdom. Apparently Ashkahet is the last kingdom of living Nerubians. Other books from the Domain of Order suggest that history has been purged of the advancements of the Black Empire, and the age was merely painted as one of chaos and misery, a pernicious blight that the Keepers eradicated. Yet the Nerubians, they paint a similar picture. The old gods loved chaos and battled with each other, using the enslaved elemental lords, keeping the surface of Azeroth blighted and chaotic. Perpetual twilight descended upon the world, and it spiraled into an abyss of suffering and death. And so their minions would be sent to die in battle over and over and over again. Queen Anubizek wanted more for her people, and while defying the old gods, defying her creators, she took them away. We've seen similar behavior with the Nerubians in Northrend, who also stepped away from Yogg-Saron and lived their own lives, but that does make me wonder how the evolution from Aqir into Nerubian happens. Evolving under the influence is a vague description. Perhaps it means evolutionary steps, like what they did to the Queen and the others, evolve and elevate them for the might of the swarm. Who is to say? But the first queen of true Nerub embodied both the sage and the lords. For the lords, we are Nerubians, not the mindless Karaji or the swarming Mantids. Yet there comes a time when our individualism will not win wars. Thus came the lords, masters of war and swarm commanders of trained insects. These lords dominate a battlefield. Only those with the greatest skills in leadership and command will be transformed into a lord, and of those, specializations emerge. Scarab lords, war shells and hulks of various types have all risen to command and crush our foes in times of war, and manage our endless swarms of minion insects in times of peace. The brawn and strategist on the battlefield, the Nerubian lords look down upon the other evolved insect races. And then for the sages. In ancient times of the old empire, before Nerubians were Nerubians, there was the sage. A need rose where the ancestor of Nerub required a shape that could wield magic against foes, evoke the dark energies of the ancient ones, and pass this knowledge on to future sorcerers. Crafted of folded flesh and warping of life through dark alchemy, these transformed sages were priests, mages, and harbingers of the ancient ones. Now they are the scholars of the Last Kingdom. The keepers of power and wisdom that let the kingdom thrive, while remembering what it used to be, capable of weaving strands of knowledge to pass between one another. The sages have become custodians of techniques no written word could capture. I always like to imagine how this would look like in an RTS setting, rather than an MMORPG. Imagine unlocking the right upgrade station so that the Aqir can become sages and support your troops on the battlefields. It reminds me a lot of the Swarm from StarCraft. Now here, they do confirm that the sages existed before the Nerubians were the Nerubians, and they have a neat little trick they can do, passing on knowledge through strands of memory. One lifetime is not enough to master the arts of magic, alchemy, and the many etiquettes and disciplines required to run the Last Kingdom. Thus, we use strands to pass the memory from one Nerubian to the next. With a strand comes the legacy of our people. Only our sages and queens may pass strands from one generation to the next, their forms refined to be able to weave and incorporate even the most impossibly small elements of memory. This is not a natural process, but a project that requires time, dedication, resources, and intention. In this way, only chosen strands are passed on to the next generation. Knowledge of how to create strands for other forms of our people that was lost with the fall of the Black Empire. The line of sages and royalty get to remember their full history, or at least if they choose to, and they get the benefit from the knowledge and experience of the past. But then, in their history, there was Queen Xal'atath, the Queen of Cobwebs. Xal'atath, may her name never be spoken with grace, but as a lesson in hubris. In her arrogance, she strove to conquer the children of stone. Her mandibles of greed broke upon their carapace of metal. Against the will of her people, she drove the Nerubians to war. So began the first recorded civil war in Nerubian history. The queen attempted dominance over her subjects, wielding a sense of power. The lords and sages refused. The dream of conquest was not theirs, and so they turned against Queen Xal'atath, unwilling to slay her, for fear of losing the knowledge of her strands. Xal'atath was sent into exile until she would part with the knowledge held within her body. Many claim Xal'atath still walks the depths of the earth, lording over the cobwebs of old, waiting for the day when her dreams of conquest might come to fruition. Then an addendum by Isvan the High Sage. While Xal'atath's body was never found, the knowledge of her strength lost, it is confirmed that no Nerubian queen is immortal. Age would have taken Xal'atath many centuries before this addendum was added. There is a small chance her knowledge may still be preserved within the strands of her corpse, mummified and waiting, a treasure only the Nerubian people would understand. Similar to the Mentids rising up against their queen when she led them down a path that they figured was not right for the people, so too did the Nerubians of the past rise up against Xal'atath. Isvan the High Sage believes that since Nerubian queens can die, then that must mean that Xal'atath is long gone, and perhaps somewhere in the caverns we would find her corpse, the strands of knowledge mummified. However, we do run into a mad Nerubian above Farron's advance, who says that she was queen before they cast her out, exiled her. They feared power and strength. I had both in spades. I was going to lead us above, out from the dark, but no, they said I was mad. They said they did not wish to fight battles, crouching in their dusty webs, moaning about missing the days of old, when all they needed was to seize the day, but no, they sit in the dust, and I sit here, forgotten. Begone now, let this ancient one be. Wonder if some way, somehow, we could get the strand of knowledge out of her. Perhaps if we could use like the right pheromones. I did notice on the vendor, there's the pheromones of the queen for a ridiculous amount of the currency. Maybe this is like a secret waiting to be unlocked. Because you imagine that a large part of that knowledge, of that history, of that experience that was never passed on to the next generation. The next queen of the Nerubians, they had to start from the beginning again. But that is an assumption. But imagine, if we could actually get Xal'atath's memories and experience and do something with it. Over the ages, the Nerubians and Ashkahet have built up their empire further and further upon layers of the previous ones, which reflects someone's status within their Nerubian empire. The higher you live, the better off you are, right? The more powerful, the more influential. Whereas the lower that you go, the weaker and worse off you are. But you can spot echoes of past cities, like Arakara. What's interesting to remember is that tale of the Earthen Traegar that had them try to answer the call of presumably Azeroth, yet before they were able to reach the destination, the Nerubians snuffed them out. What lies hidden underneath all these layers of the city? What roads could be opened by overcoming these threats? Hard to say, but potential for the future. Another potential can be found when we pay attention to the road leading into Ashkahet. You might spot some oceanic leftovers, some interesting routes, and perhaps designs that remind you of the Emerald Dream. Flying up closer will actually put you to sleep. And the mysterious guardians that showed up to save us, they might have a connection to a legend added in a book, once more with Dragonflight, the legends of Aluna'her. This tale speaks of a time in which the Titans were bringing order to Azeroth, battled with the darkness of the old gods and their so-called Black Empire. Seeking to bring hope and healing, the Titan Eonar carried a gift given to her by Alun, a branch of G'Hanir, the Motherworld tree. The Titan believed that the influence of life would drive the darkness away. So she reached down her hand and shaped the soil of Azeroth, planting the branch where it could be fed by river and sky. The branch swiftly grew into a tree, its roots extending deep below the surface. Eonar smiled, for everywhere that the roots stretched, new life emerged. She called the tree Aluna'her in honor of her great love. Now Alun is still quite a mysterious goddess, mainly known as the goddess of the Night Elves, but she's also known across the Warcraft universe as different races on different planets worship the goddess Alun. She's also an entity connected to the domain of the Emerald Dream, the cosmic domain of life, yet where once we were told the dream was like a blueprint for Azeroth's development, these days it seems like the Emerald Dream that we know, that it is part of the domain of life which the Titans managed to order. Go beyond its orderly borders, and you would find the actual domain of life, whatever shape or form it may take. That's not been confirmed yet though, but we'll probably find out more if and when we're gonna go into the domain of life. Either way, planting this branch, it would have been great for Azeroth, or so Eonar thought, but Aman'Tul wasn't having any of this. When he saw what Eonar had done, he chided her. "This is not order," he bellowed. "You have infected this world with uncontrolled chaos." The High Father took hold of the World Tree's trunk and tore it from the earth. Eonar wept bitter tears that rained down upon the resulting crater, but as she peered down upon the sundered earth, the Titan realized the truth that she did not share with the High Father. Though he had destroyed the tree, its winding roots still held firm beneath the soil, hidden from Amantul's gaze. As the forces of the Titans waged war against the Black Empire, Eonar bid her keeper Freya to watch over the crater and nurture the life that had blossomed there. Below grounds, the roots fed upon the tears of Eonar and grew strong. The war was long, but in the end, the Titans claimed victory. And Eonar was pleased, knowing Elun's legacy would endure. It is said that much later, as the world entered a new age, mysterious guardians arrived, who dedicated their lives to protecting the roots. While it's not been confirmed, it is likely that the guardians mentioned in this tale are the newly added Hornir, creatures that are very much to themselves, kind of against tradition to make contact with outsiders, but times are changing. The Nerubians are gathering the blood of the old gods. The roots are threatened, so Orweniam is willing to break tradition, save our lives, and accept our aid.
You have shown your true form. Orwena, this is forbidden.
The black blood spreads deeper every day. We need their aid.
We need nothing from them.
Enough. We both know our charge. They are of this world, and they too seek to defend it.
On higher. She speaks with the song of the world. You know it, as do I.
The others won't hear of this.
At least it will not be the first tradition we have broken.
Go, all of you. I will join you soon.
We'll most likely party more with the Harnir in the future. For now, we need to focus on what the Nerubians are doing. The blood of the slain old gods has the effect to transport us into a different realm of reality. I would compare it to the Upside Down from Stranger Things, but it's also being used to empower and ascend the Nerubians. A gift that is offered by Xal'atath, but not everyone is down with this new path for their people. Their queen Neferis not only refused to aid Anubarak, she also refused to stand with the Black Empire during what I presume to be Battle for Azeroth. After this refusal, for some reason, hard times followed for the Nerubians, and while Xal'atath offered her a solution, similarly to how she offered a solution to the High Speaker at the small price of turning New Earthen into Skardin, this time the Queen was wise enough to refuse the Harbinger's offer. But now, the Queen is dead, and her daughter Ansurek has taken over. She is willing to work with Xal'atath, and those that are found worthy, they're now being elevated into brand new forms. Yet, some amongst the Nerubians, they share a similar vision as the late queen. They do not believe that this is the right course for their people. How could it be when these new Nerubian forms can't even produce pheromones? A race that communicates by touch and smell, surely they shouldn't give up that legacy.
I specialize in little pushes, dear. Every plan is a tapestry, and I am adept at nudging and tugging just one thread at a time. You, though, are less of a tugged thread, and more of a lit match. The Harbinger's shadowy venom has stained Ansurek's tapestry. That is why I sought you out. I require a stray ember, and you need a friend in the dark.
That's where we come in, being allowed to join Widow Arachne, Mistress of Secrets, with her plans of rooting out the corruption and learning more about Nerubian life as we go. Some of the people that were taken during the assault on Dalaran, they've managed to escape, but not by chance, as General Anub'asal is sabotaging his replacement, Zefkal.
My orders were clear, and yet more overcrawlers regularly slip from our grasp. Failure! Unacceptable! Not only does this shame you, it shames me, which means no one will hear of it. Clean up this refuse and get it out of my sight. And if you breathe a word of this to anyone, you're next.
The Ascended is powerful indeed, but how can they take a Nerubian that can't produce his own pheromone seriously?
What an interesting delivery. Everyone, return to your duties, now!
Shh!
hiding here?
I know you're alive. The question is, are you useful?
Ugh. Why are these pheromones so gross?
What starts off with a rivalry, it quickly evolves into figuring out that Zefkal only does things for himself, like a rabid mantis, but not for the good of all Nerubians. So, we go around saving more of our friends and allies in need. Flynn Fairwind, Dalaran's captives, even Monty Gaslow. After messing up enough for Zefkal, we return to the Weaver, who has received a most interesting invitation from the Vizier. This is someone within the inner court, trusted by Queen Ansurek, that would be a great boon to have as an ally on our side. It is a risk, but one that we're willing to take.
Welcome. I'm Executor Nizrek, also known as the Vizier. Your willingness to meet humbles me.
My friend, you made it. Sorry for the cloak and dagger. We just couldn't risk being discovered.
Time is short. Here are pheromones that will allow you into the bazaar. Apply them. Xal'atath is a problem, to be certain, but the Queen is not being influenced. She has made a choice she believes in. The Weaver will not be pleased, but Ansurek must also be eliminated.
Back away from him, creature! Now!
Listen to me and lower your bow! He's an ally.
An ally? Dalaran fell because of them!
Alleria, we can end this war. But not if you loose that arrow.
Fine. But you best have a good explanation for this. All right, Anduin. Talk.
I don't expect you to understand. But I just... In that moment, with the airship, maybe some part of me thought that would be enough for the light to shine on me again. That maybe if I did what my father... But the light didn't come. I found myself here instead.
His actions impressed me so much that I simply had to redirect his prison transport.
Farron told me I needed to get out of my head about everything. I think she was right. Maybe the light hasn't returned to me, but this is what I'm best at.
Allying with monsters?
Helping people. I'm not going to let Xal'atath ruin a civilization, no matter how monstrous it appears.
And you feel unworthy of the light. I still don't trust these Nerubians, but I trust you. And that's enough for now.
Anduin has far more to offer than just a strong connection to the light. Capable of seeing beyond just monsters, he believes Nerubians are just as deserving of saving as anyone else. Their culture might seem weird and monstrous to us, like the ancient old tradition of eating your first love so that they stay with you forever, but it doesn't mean that all of them are our enemy. Similar to the days that we managed to ally with the Mentit, so too do we learn more about the Nerubians, but also that there are Niffen and Drogbar within the city. With the Vizier's aid, we sabotage some of the Queen's propaganda. If you've done the Suramar storyline during Legion, this storyline should feel very similar. And then we check in on our Ascension Day speech.
And this I promise to you all. With our renewed strength, our kingdom shall be reborn!
I can feel the Void's influence upon her. She's Xal'atath's creature now.
How could you know that? Alleria, we need to go.
Maybe you're right. Wait. He's here.
What?
Xal'atath.
No!
For Khadgar.
Get the Queen to safety!
Move, now!
Repel the intruder!
The Vizier left us flyers to escape with at the end of this path.
The entire city is closing in. We'll need to fight our way there.
Overcrawlers! They would assassinate our beloved queen!
Alleria, what happened back there? This isn't you!
I had to take the shot. It was my chance to make up for Dalaran. For Khadgar.
We can only imagine what is running through Alleria's mind as the whispers of the void are constantly assaulting her, and Xal'atath has shown to just be this impossible force to overcome, capable of instantly disarming her, making her crawl on the ground, toying with Alleria, and given the vibe that what we're doing right now is not the main show.
I'll slay you myself! The Fang will arrive to your corpses! But I have...
Through the webs! We are not yet safe. I don't expect you to understand what I'm dealing with.
But I do. I know all about blaming myself for things I couldn't possibly control. Let's try... Wait! Get back!
Champion! Slip through and take out the commander. We'll keep that swarm at bay for you.
No! My swarmlings! Come back!
Finally! Now I can get a clear shot.
Shield me! Protect me!
Alleria, are you thinking of giving up? Giving in? I know what it's like. I can't fix things for you. But you know who you are. And I can listen. If you need me. What is that?
Taste the venom of my fangs, overcrawlers.
More will come!
What now? Our flyers are dead!
Jump!
Have you lost your... Alright, fine, jumping it is.
I've seen you, Windrunner. Always alone. Pushing everyone away to embrace the hunt. Just like the monster you pretend not to be.
You're the only monster here.
Am I? You've slain hundreds to find me. Was that really all for Khadgar? Or is it just your nature to destroy? Come, Alleria. Embrace who you truly are.
Alleria.
I know who I am.
Run all you like. I'm coming for all of you.
soaked, but alive.
Let's get to shore. Well, we've certainly kicked the spider's nest. Xal'atath won't wait long before striking again.
Alleria, what happened back there?
She invited me into the darkness. Said I was already halfway there. And I'd be lying if I said that wasn't partly true. That by embracing the void to pursue her, I had to cast aside all I care for. You, Barisa, Turalyon, Arator, Khadgar.
Dalaran wasn't your fault.
Can you blame me for wishing I had prevented it? For wondering if the void could have alerted me to Xal'atath?
No, I understand that feeling. More than you know.
For so long, I thought I had to choose between two paths. Stay with my loved ones, or walk alone in the void. Xal'atath sought to force that choice upon me. But I see now that there is only one path forward. The void is a part of me, as is my love for my family. I can and must walk with both, no matter what Xal'atath whispers in my ear.
It can be hard to find your footing in the darkness. Just remember, Alleria, we're always here to lend a hand.
It's anyone's guess what Xal'atath wants to accomplish, but safe to say that Alleria still has some part to play. For now, she manages to hold on to her sanity, and while the threats in front of us may not be the only things cooking, they are threatening indeed. We're going to need the support of the Alliance and the Hordes. We're going to need more earthen power if we want any chance at storming the Nerubar Palace and stopping this Nerubian threat.
Our mutual agent has informed me that their allies from above will storm our realm for Xal'atath's head.
However, disposing of Xal'atath will not be enough to save our people. It is Ansurek that is leading us to our downfall.
Let's make haste, champion. We must notify our allies of what we've uncovered.
You don't know our queen as I know her. Her people go missing. Dark forces walk the palace. Ansurek only thinks of power.
But she is still Nephris's blood. Is there no redeeming her?
We blinded our tired hearts from the truth, widow. Ansurek is nothing like her mother. Indeed, but we three can work together to restore Nephris's ideals instead.
I understand. We must slay Ansurek and sever the threads that shackle our people.
We've leveled through Khaz Algar, journeyed through the Coreway, we've done some good groundwork, but there's still plenty to deal with. The Nerubian queen is in league with Xal'atath, gathering the blood of old gods to ascend their people, and who knows what else they want to accomplish. The Arathi of Hallowfall have to contend with Beledar Dorn in dark for longer and longer periods of time, giving the monsters of the deep all the time they need to wipe them out. The machines in the Ringing Deeps have been saved from corruption and made operational again by Magni passing on the blessing of Azeroth, but still plenty of machines that need fixing. And then at the top, on the Isle of Dorn, we have seen Xal'atath corrupt their riders, wiping out the order that's been guarding the Isle from the sky for millennia. Plenty of problems to deal with. But first, let's welcome some much needed reinforcements. Thrall and Jaina finally return, and some already asked how it was possible for the fleet to get through the storms that are supposedly surrounding Khaz Algar. That is because of Jaina and the Tide Sages from Quel'thelas that are able to calm the winds and the waves.
We will survive. And here they come now.
Loktar, everyone.
And apologies for the delay.
Seek out my steward, Outlander. He is waiting to assist you.
Jaina, Thrall. When we last spoke, I was in a dark place. My grief and rage were deafening. I thought the only way to silence them
was to hunt down those responsible. I know what that's like. To survive an atrocity and feel like vengeance is all you have left.
Or to think you could have stopped what happened, if you had just seen what was right in front of you.
That pain, that guilt. I felt it twisting me into someone I'm not. But I assure you, I have found my way back from the edge. And I am here, with you, to the end.
It's good to have you with us, Alleria.
We're all in this together.
That we are. The time will come when I must face Xal'atath again. But when I do, it will be for the right reasons.
Alleria, when I heard about Dalaran, I would have come sooner. I wanted to. But the state of the world right now, the Radiant Song...
It's all right, Turalyon. You don't... We each have our responsibilities to bear. Truth be told, if you had seen me as I was, what I had started to become...
I should have been there for you.
You were. More than you could ever know.
We stood together for 1,000 years. I'll stand by you for 1,000 more.
And the next time I push you away?
I wait. Until you ask me to come back.
Then it's a good thing I always do.
I've missed you, Alleria. And I'm not going anywhere.
I know. We stand together, Turalyon. Here and now.
After setting up things for our troops in Dornigal, it is time to get to work and fix what has been broken. First up are the Storm Riders. Their order was corrupted by Xal'atath, and we had to wipe them out, but perhaps we can bring back what was lost. The Stormrooks are air elementals from Skywall, the elemental plane of air. Way back when, the Black Empire, the Old Gods, they had managed to enslave the Elemental Lords, and chaos ruled the world of Azeroth, until the arrival of the Titans. Their keepers battled with the Elemental Lords and defeated them, but they are elements. You can't really destroy them, as the spirits of the elementals were bound to Azeroth itself. If they were killed, their corporal forms would simply manifest again in time. So it was that Keeper, with the aid of the gifted Titanforge sorceress Helya, they crafted 4 interlinked domains within a pocket dimension known as the Elemental Plane. Ra and Helya then banished the Elemental Lords and nearly all of their servants to this enchanted prison realm. Alakir was sent to Skywall, the elemental plane of air, which you might remember visiting to fight the Windlord himself or to later place Thunderan in a position of power. Meaning that the elemental plane is not inaccessible. And on Khaz Algar, there's been an incident. Report 605-D9. Remoliths were butting heads, causing shockwaves, and what I assume led to opening up a rift into the elemental plane of air. From the storm, from Skywall, there came the Stormrooks that were quite a hostile problem for the Earthen. Although the mountain giants have been able to shield much of our surface workers from harm, these winged furies grow in number and ferocity by the day. They send word to the Keeper for aid, Keeper Arcadus, meaning that at some point they were able to make contact with the outside world beyond Khaz Algar. Arcadus shows up with support from a Keeper from the west, presumably Keeper Ra, who seemed to quell the storms with his mere presence alone. His arrival seemed to darken the skies, silence the winds, and halt the rain. Even the winged creatures of storm seems to cower in his presence. They don't call him the Keeper of Storms without reason, wielding the fist of Drenden and the High Keeper's wards.
Oh, the familiar embrace of the storms.
After surveying the damage from these elementals, the thunder-cloaked figure ascended the mountains towards the storm alongside our keeper. We're unaware of what transpired atop the mountain, but the keeper from the west spoke of a battle fought in a past age, the storm its scar, presumably the time that he and the others took on Alakir and imprisoned him. In his grasp, now bound and controlled, he held one of the winged creatures, a Stormrook. These elementals were the first to rain their unordered chaos down upon this sector. Now they will be its guardians, and the weapons you will wield to protect this site. And so, the first of the Stormrook riders were chosen. From the Dawn interface in the Hall of Awakening, we learned that the machine would start to pump out more Storm Riders after this incident, in an effort to keep the Coreway and the surrounding sector safe from exterior threats. Baelgrim was the leader, with Ulbric his right-hand man, right there from the beginning. They had a falling out over the binding of the Rooks, with Ulbric believing that they shouldn't be forced to serve. Baelgrim followed the will of the Keepers, but interestingly enough, also defied their will, or so Thrall says, as Baelgrim not only used the Stormrooks that they had, that Ra helped them control, he learned how to summon more of them, which is interesting because he was all about staying strict to their edicts and following the will of the Titans. Yet he, just like the others, he fought outside of the box to fulfill his edicts. Imagine that if his edicts is to keep Dornic and the Isles safe, and they don't have enough Storm Riders to defend the lands against threats like the Nerubians, then he'd be willing to go against the will of the Titans and bring in more chaos, bring in more of the Rooks. The Storm Riders were calibrated with militant prowess and strategic awareness in order to execute their assigned designation. Originally assigned to the western watchtower of Dar Ostan, following the construction of Stormwatch, Storm Riders were assigned to multiple sites around the patrol district within Sector AR 938. That's their history, but now their order is nearly gone. To fix what was broken, we must do what Baelgrim did, summon in new Stormrooks, and unite them with the Earthen, who feel the call of the elements.
We need to ask someone who knows them well. Lufsella, may we speak to you?
Winds and wings.
All the Stormrooks are gone. I can't help you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have my fish to, water.
She is hiding something. Follow her.
Shalbendri, no!
Easy, friend. We don't want to harm your rider. Tell me, how is it that you were given a rook if you're not a Storm Rider?
Shalbendri doesn't belong to anyone. But she chose me. Besides, nobody else could handle her. She has this tendency to corkscrew unexpectedly.
It seems you were meant for each other. This bodes well. You have a bond with the Rooks. Even those return to the storm. I can sense it.
Shalbendri may be all that's left. We lost so many.
Hold, Outlanders. This place is off limits to all but Stormward Baelgrim.
You didn't hear? Baelgrim... he's gone.
This Stormrook has no bindings. It follows your directive still.
Follows is a strong word.
You knew Baelgrim, and you know the Stormrooks. Then you were a Storm Rider.
Cycles upon cycles ago, yes.
You think I can summon the Stormrooks?
Affirmative. If we can get you and the conduit to the peak.
We'll fly ahead and prepare. Ulbric, where is your Stormrook?
Gone.
Oh. Well, ride Shalbendri with me. She's strong enough to carry us both.
Hi. Thank you.
Here we go. Stay close. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
Outlander, help us hold these elementals at bay!
Reach out through the storm, Lufcela, as we discussed.
All right. Here goes. Stormrooks, hear me! We need your help!
Good. Open your mind and your heart to them.
I don't think it's working! They're not listening!
Hold Lufcela!
Go to her, champion. Lend her your strength.
I can't do this! The Titans!
Baelgrim summoned the Stormrooks on his own. If he defied the Titans, so can you!
Lufcela, the Stormrooks know your intentions. Focus. Call them, and they will answer. Well done. The Stormrooks have heeded your call.
Not just mine. Theirs. They chose to help us, of their own free will.
What now, Lufcela?
We have a lot of work to do. New Stormrooks, new riders. We're going to have to start all over.
You won't be alone, Lufcela. I can help you. So can Vakmar, and...
But I'm no Stormward, Oberug. I don't know if I can.
Lufcela, Baelgrim was as stubborn as a ram's arse and twice as shale-headed. Do you think he knew what he was doing when he took over the Storm Perch? No. He was a good rider, but it took him far longer than you to figure out how to train a Stormrook. Sure, he went through many recharges, but he knew what the Titans had done to the Rooks was wrong. We fought about it. That's why I finally left. He wouldn't admit it. But I realized it didn't matter, the way he called them. At some point he changed. More like one of those shaman, like Thrall.
So he knew, somewhere inside. But he didn't... remember?
Something like that. But you weren't afraid of the truth, Lufcela. And that's why you deserve this.
I'm... still not sure I do. But the Stormrooks deserve better. And I can give them that.
No longer will the Rooks be forced to serve. They now choose to do so, with a stronger bond to the riders than ever before.
Another Alliance lackey here to polish Tyrallian's armor.
Pay attention, Orc. Watch one of the Alliance's best at work.
Oh, will they also talk the enemy to death?
On the beach, we help Tyrellian and Overlord Kajara with not killing each other, managing the troops, gearing and training the Earthen. A lot of faces have shown up on the Isle of Dorn. Some familiar, some not so much. Easy to miss are Captain Rezokun of Zandalar and Captain Tendred Proudmoore of Quel'thelas, who command their fleets. G. Firepaw and Isaac Cloudsinger actually get to hang out and do something together. Sunwalker Desko got himself a brand new outfit, and he brought his son along, the one that survived and has the destiny on Pandaria. Officer Herrick was once upon a time book only, beyond the Dark Portal, described as Donna's right-hand man, now finally added to the game as well. And then Lady Aldrin, she walks around with Salandria, Salandria being the orphan that we helped out during the Children's Week event, and as promised back then, she's been working really hard with Liadrin to become one of the Blood Knights.
You would do well to remember what you've witnessed here, Orc.
Oh, I won't soon forget.
Go, champion. Spare yourself.
With the troops in order, we go back to the Storm Riders, who are just about to get some training from one of the best.
Unfortunately, a few of our new recruits have wandered off with their rooks. I wanted them to have a chance to bond, but it's probably time to round them up. I would have asked Olberig, but he has wandered off too.
A magical city traveling the world. Just think of all the places it saw before it fell here. Apologies. We seem to both enjoy exploring. Let's go, Traumer.
That had better be a fiddler with a ready drink. Back to work then. It seems our absence has been felt, Fawa. Best not to keep our admirers waiting any longer.
That appears to be the last of them, for now. But we should stay vigilant, Vatar. Yes, of course. The mission must always come first. Up, boy! Let's fly!
I'm sorry, Lufcella. We cannot wait for this Olberig any longer.
Just like we practiced, Lufcella. The storm is your ally.
Olberig, where are you? We need you. Initiating!
Well done. The storm has granted the rooks its strength.
Right then, let's get these birds in the air and see what they can do.
Outlander, please take Shroudbendry up. I'd like to stay in case Olberig returns.
Let's start by swinging out over the ruins of Dalaran. May it remind ye that what goes up can sometimes come back down.
I wish I could have seen it whole. Such a wonder, such a loss.
We'll do a circuit of the bay. The water ought to make for a softer landing, just in case one of you takes a dive.
Yes, but then we would be wet. Think of our clothing, man.
Fly as low as you can. Imagine a cave roof full of stalactites over your head.
Let's not talk about caves. My former directive was mining. I've had enough stalactites, thanks.
Lufcella sure gave your rooks some pep. Woo, they don't seem to be tiring at all.
Fawa and I would like a rest cycle after this, just the same.
You're doing great for a bunch of rookies. I think we can move on to lesson 2.
But how?
Urge your rook upward. They discharge as they gain altitude.
This would make for quite the show. Anyone fancy putting together an aerial act?
Only if it's an act of war.
Delicious.
Send them down to the deeps, lads and lasses!
Lads? Lasses? We are thousands of years old.
It is not age that matters, but experience.
Well done, everyone! I think it's time we gave your storm rooks a breather. Champion, I think I saw the old storm rider Olberig while I was flying by the meadery. Ye might check on him while I take the flock home to roost.
How often did we have the same argument about our storm rooks, Baelgrim? And how often did that blasted Titan machine wipe away the memory of it? It's Zerine, Baelgrim's Stormrook. Zerine, you stayed, even with Baelgrim gone. But you're free now. Go, fly. I see now. We were both right, Baelgrim. Stormrooks can be free, but choose to serve. Would you fly with me? Thank you, Zerine. We will honor Baelgrim together.
a lot has been done to bridge the gap between the Oathsworn and the Unbound. Time for the Earthen of Khaz Algar to truly reunite as one.
So, we are in agreement?
Yes. We must assist our new allies. And to do that, we must renounce the edicts forever.
It is fitting, then, that we do so here, where it all began, where the edicts were written. Who would like to do the honors? I, the Council Ward of Dornic, declare that we are all unbound. Huh?
Looks like the Titans don't appreciate it when the Earthen try to break free, which might be the point, that the Titans are cruel masters that do not allow anyone to step away from the norm, but there is the potential that there's more at play. We've spoken about the Watchers, who were extremely cruel to the Earthen, and that if the Earthen would dare to go against the will of the Titans, they were going to pay. We've also seen Keeper Loken mess around with Titan machinery in the past, so perhaps it was the Watchers who set up this failsafe. At the same time, we've also seen that these unbound Earthen, they've been doing their thing for millennia and no retribution followed. Not until they smashed the machine. This could just be an automatic response to the destruction of Titan property, not the Earthen trying to stand on their own 2 feet. Either way, it doesn't matter much if we don't come together and put our training to use.
Anyone else concerned we're out of our depth here?
Remember your training, Catilda.
That won't be hard considering how recent it was.
Look at the size of that thing.
Aren't you supposed to be the stalwart one? Now I'm nervous.
Task complete. We did it.
And in style, too.
We have made the Isle safe.
Good work, Storm Riders. Take a victory lap and let our people know their shores are safe again.
It seems the Storm Riders have proven themselves once more. As have you, champion.
I see Zorain has returned. Does he bring our new Storm Ward with him?
No. Our new Storm Ward has been right here all along. Lufcella has done what Baelgrim and I failed to do for thousands of years. She's brought the Stormrooks to Wing as equal partners, with compassion and understanding.
Quite so. But will she accept the burden of becoming Stormward, Lufcella?
If it means keeping the Stormrooks and their riders safe, then yes. Without hesitation.
That's the Storm Rider problem fixed, but they do have more Earthen feeling the call and more Stormrooks are going to be summoned. Next up, we join Lily and Voss into Ashkahet, as the Widow Ragnar has a lead for us.
I hear you need some eyes in the dark, Windrunner.
The Weaver has a lead that may be relevant to our cause. I would follow it myself, but...
You're busy, I get it. Just stay out of my way. Champion, meet me at the Weaver's lair. Were you followed?
This is your backup? Interesting. The Transformatory was a blind spot for me. Until Yateki breached it and achieved ascension. Mistress, you flatter me. Scout for troubling movement in the area. Then rendezvous and prepare to infiltrate.
The techie was introduced as a regular Nerubian, but she managed to earn her way into high society and become ascended, giving up her entire being for the cause.
Do you see that? Nothing. Decidedly odd for the City of Threads. The freshly ascended are usually flitting about the Umbral Bazaar. Where have they gone?
Smuggling is common enough in the city, but from the maddening deep, unusual and concerning. I need to know where they're taking that bile, why, and for whom.
Gathering supplies? Marching out? I've heard nothing of this. Make no mistake, this is preparation for war, and none thought to inform me. This bodes ill indeed.
They made it. Color me impressed.
Don't get too comfortable. We've got a long mission ahead of us. If those Ascended Guards get close, hit them with one of these vials. It'll provide a distraction.
They don't look tough. I'm sure you'll be fine. Enjoy slinking around. I'll be walking right in.
Ugh. Black blood. Don't touch that stuff. I'm not surprised we found some here, but I don't like that they're moving it around.
Blood! It's in my blood!
Fresh from the transformatory and still dripping with ichor. They're shipping these Ascended to the front before they've got their wits about them.
The ascension process does not appear to be gentle, as they're pumping their citizens full of black blood. And the experiments weren't all successful, nor completed overnight. We find the first Ascended, a gigantic hulk of a... can we still call it a Nerubian? They're locked away underground. What could they plan with this thing? It's time to find out.
This changes the situation. I don't like the look of that huge thing.
It's an added bit of intrigue, that's for sure. Who's keeping it bound, and why? One spritz of this, and no one will question that you belong in the transformatory.
We're in. Now let's get what we came for and get out before we're caught.
My dear Lillian, where's the fun in that? This is a dangerously unstable formulation. Intriguing.
Wonder if that's what they've been feeding the monstrosity outside.
Our experiments are not for overcrawler eyes. Our experiments are not for overcrawler eyes.
This experiment dates back to Neferis's reign? Ansurek's been stewing on this a long time.
Nefer who?
Our dear departed queen. I wonder if the Weaver knew about this.
Slender is the strand that guides our destiny, known only by true sacrifice. In our kingdom of Ashkahet, no one understood this sacrifice more than Queen Neferis, my mother. I saw this when the Black Empire came to conscript us for their last stand at Ny'alotha. My mother refused them.
For this treachery, your line will sever itself. This kingdom will wither with the waning of your worth.
Her strength defined us that day. And in that moment, we felt destined for greatness. But in the years that followed, our greatness was tarnished. Look at them out there. Wretched. Starving.
I am not immune to our people's suffering. I believe better days will come.
Not if you keep failing to seize the moment. What was the point of you freeing our future, only to leave us buried in the past?
You comprehend so little. There is much for you to learn before you can be queen.
Mother! Mother!
Ansurek? Are you seeing this?
You have heard my voice in your dreams, Great Queen.
The harbinger.
Yes, of the empire that was. But the old gods are dead. The empire lies in ashes, and a shadow has fallen on your kingdom. But the blood of the old gods can make your people powerful again. Your reign could last for eternity. All you have to do is take my hand.
Your words are tempting, but the cost is too great. I would never risk my kingdom for such power.
Mother, who are you talking to?
Oh, ghosts, dearest. As always, they are my ready counsel.
I'm not sorry for what I said. I only want our people to be great once more.
Greatness is fleeting. What we must do now is endure. Your time will come, child, but only when you are ready. What have you done?
You're not the only one seeing ghosts, Mother.
How sad to have a queen so wise, and yet so ignorant to the call of destiny.
Her name is Xal'atath. You had your chance, Mother. With this power, Ashkahet is unbound. We will rise. We will conquer. And together, we will finally claim our destiny.
Long live Queen Ansurek. That thing is Nephirus?
Yuteki, we should assess our options.
We go to her, now!
We should be careful. We don't know what that thing can do.
That thing is my queen! I will not leave her chained. Bring me whatever bile they have lying around. I'll melt her chains myself if I have to.
At this point, we knew that the queen had passed away. We knew that her daughter was listening to the harbinger. We knew that she had made her choice and was irredeemable. But now we discovered that it was Ansurek who killed her mother. The beloved queen slain by her own daughter's hands. Not only that, the first ascended that was imprisoned before us, it is none other than Queen Nephirus, transformed, powerful, and absolutely beyond reasoning.
What are you doing? You're going to get us all killed.
I know exactly what I'm doing. Kahet is Korvan. Who's going to stop me? You? Ha! We meet again. Not now! We've protect you. Stay back! Your ascension is complete.
Out! Now! without even blinking! If she can do that to one Ascended... Still in one piece? Good. This is far from over. Yuteki is... not themselves. We need to do something. You stop.
You are a worm! She will devour everything!
Too late!
Easy there, Agent. Let's get them away from prying eyes. Figure out our next move. In all the excitement, I nearly forgot we had a weapons convoy to deal with. There is much to be done. Those bombs should give me enough cover to drag Yuteki out of here. Meet me back at the Weaver's lair. We'll figure out what to do with them.
The Ascended are not just elevated into entire new forms, they're also fully at the mercy of Xal'atath, her personal army of incredibly powerful Nerubians, not to mention that hulking form the Queen is stuck in.
I told her about Yuteki and the convoy. You can tell her about everything we found inside the lab. Good luck.
Neferis? My queen? Lives? No. As you described it, she is but a shell of herself. It would have been better if they just killed her.
You're wrong.
Am I? One monster has sympathy for another.
True death is the end of the story. Anything before that is workable. Let's go, Champion. We've got a report to give topside.
Report, Voss. What's down there?
Black blood. They're hauling it up to Hallowfall. And you won't like this. Those ascended Nerubians. Xal'atath can stick her fingers right into their minds. They put up a hell of a fight.
A tactic she uses all too often. We'll have to account for that when we face her again. Thank you, Voss.
We're going to need more firepower, more muscle in our army. Getting the Golem facility up and running within the Ringing Deeps. It would be a great step, but the facility has been overrun by Goblin looters. High Speaker Brinf and Dagran work together with Zizi to get us those powerful units that we desperately need.
Looks like you should have brought some bigger friends.
Guess what? We did. Now, Zizi. Facility reactivated. War golems are active and back in production.
Pack it up, team. I know when we're beaten.
We need to match the raw strength of Ansurek's ascended monstrosities. War golems give us a way to do that. Well done.
Champion, Ranger General, the Harbinger has struck at the Aegis Wall.
She has made the first move. What is she planning?
Just as we're at our strongest again, Xal'atath strikes. No time to think, as the Nerubians are on the march. Everything we've done so far, the Storm Riders, the Golems, the Horde and Alliance, training the Earthen Troop, our allies amongst the Arathi, everything we've got is brought to the battlefield to stem the tide of darkness. Lady Aldrin makes a very old callback. Let it be said that Quel'thelas repays even the oldest of debts. Blood Knights charge for Arathor, for the light. I imagine that she's referring to the line of Thoradin of Arathor, the human kingdom uniting with the High Elves against the Amani trolls, but I kinda assume that since they're now Blood Elves and there's a whole lot of history between the Alliance and the Horde now, that debt was kinda over with, but I guess not. Which, regardless of opinions, it might come back later if and when we deal with the Arathi Empire and their Emperor, if we're going to deal with more people that might have a connection to that Thoradin bloodline.
We need to reach Alleria, quickly!
Alleria.
Khadgar?
This isn't the real fight.
The black blood. It's all around us. Tyrallian, I have to go.
What? The battle is about to turn.
We've played right into Xal'atath's hands. But I know where she is. And I'm going to stop her.
I'm coming with you.
I know you would. But your place is here. I need you to trust me.
We'll be right with her.
Come back to me.
I always do.
This oppressive darkness. I can barely see beyond the airship's flame.
In my heart there is fire. A beacon in the dark.
Xal'atath is here. I can sense her. We need to hurry.
But first we must find a way to light our path.
Tyrallian stays behind to hold the line and turn the battle with the others against the Nerubians, while our party enters the Priory of the Sacred Flame. This was built by the Arathi for ardent worshippers to contemplate the mystery of the Emperor's vision. And yet, it also seems to have been perfectly designed for Xal'atath to do what she came here to do. Is it possible that she's taken steps to get this done? Has she influenced the visions of the Emperor?
Keep struggling. Let your emotions run. Every moment of defiance charges the air around you and feeds into me.
We'll cover you, Farron. Focus on the brazier.
The sacred flame protects us. I will bring light to the darkness. The Priory has a light well in the middle of the courtyard. No doubt it has been tainted.
Even the light burns with your rage as you carry candles into a starless night.
It is not rage, but hope that guides the way. Dawn is ever on the horizon, harbinger.
The courtyard is clear. Purify the well.
The darkness has receded. Hurry, to the Priory. The darkness saps my strength.
Wait. What is that?
All that remains of Queen Neferis.
Yes. Bring your allies to me, my blade. Drive them to the brink. For you have become the weapon that I now wield.
Monster! May your soul be judged by the flame!
My people shrouded in pain.
Something's wrong.
No more darkness, pain. No more.
She's fighting against her will.
The betrayed queen of the Nerubians already chose to defy the will of Xal'atath, and she paid the price. Pumped full of the black blood, she is struggling hard to maintain control over her true self. And so, we make the call to spare her life.
Xal'atath is just ahead. After me!
Go! I'll hold the line! In the very heart of shadow, I will be the shield that guards the way!
Alleria. You mortals are the most wrathful creatures in existence. I've watched you break worlds, overthrow gods. Even the realm of death couldn't hold you. Your hunger for violence is insatiable. You lured us here, unleashed us upon the Nerubians, all to fuel the Black Blood's power. My power. This stops now. Your determination delights me. But I have risen from the ashes of countless empires. I have survived ordeals you cannot comprehend. You cannot kill me. I'm not aiming at you.
This changes nothing!
Khadgar! Oh no. I heard your voice. This can't be.
You did well. I knew you would stop her.
Stay with me, Khadgar. Don't let go.
A lot happened in a short cutscene. We see Xal'atath draining power from Beledar, monologuing about the hunger for violence, fighting Nerubians and whatnot, all to fuel the Black Blood's power. My power. And it's uncertain exactly what she means, but to me, it calls back to the days of Mr. Pandaria. Pandaria is a land infused with the essence of the old god Y'Shaarj. Bits and pieces of its body fell back onto the land as the Titans ripped it out. Our emotions then fed the darkness of the land and the Sha popped out. And if I had to give this an interpretation, I'd say that the Black Blood, the blood of the old gods, it responds in a similar way. Draining out Beledar does seem to support the idea that it started to darken, because when Sargeras stabbed the world, it shook loose the blood of the old gods, which the Nerubians been collecting, which then the crystal has also been gathering. Again, did Xal'atath plan this in advance? The Priory and its location, it seems to be planned out for just this moment. What is Xal'atath's connection to the star, to Beledar? I'm putting money on it being the ship that brought Xal'atath to Azeroth, but that is a complete stab in the dark. Speaking of the dark, Alleria has gotten a lot stronger. In the pre-event, we saw her struggling to deal with Xal'atath. As the harbinger, she knew exactly where to hit her, push her away from her loved ones, believing that she had to make the sacrificial plays to get anything done. But quite the opposite proves true. Her anchors are not just her motivation, but also her strength, and that clarity, it allows her to take the shot. That doesn't explain why Xal'atath didn't just instantly disarm her or make her crawl like she's done before. You could explain it by saying that she was busy with the whole power drain, or maybe she has started to believe her own hype. Alleria has not exactly shown to be a threat to her so far, yet at the same time, this is supposed to be like this untouchable being. It's interesting, but All the same, beat her we do. Shattering the dark heart and the powers locked inside, they come out in a massive explosion. Not exactly what Xal'atath had in mind. We don't know what she has in mind, but this reaction, it does not give the impression that it fits in our master plan. Forced to leave instead of retaliate, we now have Khadgar returned. A lot of people asked if this was really Khadgar, or is it again a sneak by Xal'atath? Anything is possible. The whole Khadgar is a Dreadlord thing, it can always be applied, but personally I don't think so. Because they have not only brought Khadgar back, they've also connected it to Anduin, reconnected to the light. Imagine that Xal'atath would reveal that it was her all along, and that Anduin reconnected to save her. It would be the twist of a lifetime. It might send him off the edge, but I doubt that that is what they're going for. Speaking of Anduin, he decides to no longer turn away from the light, but to embrace it once more. The small steps taken throughout his journey in the war within, they pay off in this moment. Not instantly dealing with his trauma either, it's still very much a day-by-day, step-by-step process, but at least he is willing to embrace the light again, and he does something that, lore-wise, is incredibly difficult. He performs what I presume to be a resurrection. Gameplay-wise, that's no big deal, right? How often do we not bring our raid team back from the dead? But for the story, it's a lot more rare. It's not necromancy either, it's not a zombie from the grave. No, it is a full-on res in the light. He has presumably done it with his father before, who nearly died. He brought back Jaina with the aid of Chi-Chi the Red Crane. And now here we got Khadgar back as well. The old wizard does have a price to pay for his magical adventure, but the day has been won.
Fortune smiles on us today. The battle is won, and in victory, we've had a dear friend return to us. Traces of Xal'atath's presence linger in the air. In time, she will strike again. But for now, I believe we've all earned some respite.
It occurs to me that I never got the chance to properly thank you, champion. Were it not for your efforts, Dalaran could have proven to be an even greater tragedy than it was.
We thought we had lost you, Khadgar. How did you survive?
The Dark Heart was created not to destroy, but to capture and harness all manner of power. When I felt what it was doing to me, I transmuted myself into pure arcane energy.
And allowed yourself to be trapped within the Dark Heart.
Yes, until you freed me.
That was a risky move, trusting me to finish the fight against Xal'atath.
I knew you would do whatever it took to defeat her, just like all those years ago, when we charged through the dark portal and closed it behind us to save our world. Both then and now, placing my faith in you was never any risk at all. That transmutation spell, however, that was not without consequences. You know, Kerdrin keeps saying I should just ride a griffin around. That seems terribly inconvenient, if you ask me. I much prefer this chair.
Could that be because Archmage Modera designed it for you herself?
Why, Alleria? Whatever are you implying?
Only that you and Tyrallion are so very alike. Bold in battle, shy in matters of the heart.
And you are still the same old Alleria, I see.
That I am, Khadgar. Void or no void.
There's been a small bit of romance brewing in the background between Khadgar and Archmage Modera. And I find it cute to see it come back in this conversation between Alleria and Khadgar. It's a very old callback. The novel Beyond the Dark Portal, released in 2008. But once upon a time, we had Khadgar, who confronted his corrupted mentor Medivh. And in that confrontation, Medivh sucked out the life out of him, magically aged him. And while these days, he goes around looking like Khadgar, once upon a time, he was not feeling so hot. Imagine how Khadgar felt when he saw Alleria trying to throw her life away and join her departed loved ones, her family that had died at the hands of the orcs, and their whole will they won't they thing between Alleria and Tyrallion, instead of embracing the love and the connection that he might never be able to get. I find it cute to see where Khadgar now stands and how he can goof about his love life, but I do wonder if there's going to be more consequences and effects to being stuck within the Dark Heart. You'd imagine that if Xal'atath can control the Nerubians and Alleria the way that she has, that being part of the Dark Heart, it could have a similar effect. Not to mention, what is the Dark Heart? Where did Khadgar go? Is it its own pocket dimension? There are still so many questions left to be answered. Like, are we gonna reforge Atiyesh again?
It would have been easy for you to end Queen Neferess's life to secure victory. And yet you spared her. Words cannot capture my gratitude. I will escort my queen home and bring word of your deeds to my conspirators. Return to the surface for now, and know that you will forevermore have allies in Ashkahet.
As Orion described, the raid is just about to release, so I'm not sure how the story within the palace is going to affect the ending of the max level campaign. What did we do first story-wise? Did we deal with Xal'atath in Hallowfall and then head over to the palace? Did the palace happen first, or did it go at the same time? Hard to say, but back at the Weaver's Lair.
My queen, forgive me. I should have known your demise was manufactured by Xal'atath.
Widow! No! No! Do not look! Stay away!
Neferess, I've been apart from you for too long. Do not ask me to suffer your absence for another moment.
Abomination hurts. Leave me, Naya.
Never. After all that has happened, all that we've done, it was worth it to hear you say my name again. You needn't speak, my dear. I am here at your side. I will not leave you. All is as it should be.
Time to gather our troops and finish what we started.
I have redirected forces loyal to me away from the entrance. Dispatch these guards before they can raise an alarm. Otherwise, you will be encumbered with additional forces.
The pathetic conspirators have finally crawled from their holes to attack my palace. I appreciate you making the extermination of your futile resistance all the easier. Orgrax, feed!
The experiments on a mother were not the only creatures created. Ugrax the Devourer is another, driven mad by endless hunger, but still playing with its food as the fear it makes the meat taste all the better. We will be a very tasty snack, but if Ugrax can't reach us, they'll be more than happy to settle for delectable insects that are spawned. The Devourer is also capable of making portals to blitz across the battlefields, but don't get too focused on the fights, as in the sky, Rashinan is using acid on the webbing, which is keeping our platform in the sky.
Let the Royal Guard fish their corpses from the pool. The harvest cannot be interrupted.
The Nerubians are still hard at work, gathering the blood of the old gods, for their ascensions, for who knows what other purposes. From it, a vile ooze has risen, the blood-bound horror, drawing everything in its path into the unseeming. Now we have teamed up with the Harbinger in Ashkahet. We already dealt with this unseeming realm. It is a shadowy realm below reality, where true horrors lurk. I would compare it to the Upside Down from Stranger Things. It's its own unique little realm where forgotten things can be found, like harbingers or lost watchers. We want to make use of being dragged into this realm to clear out the ads, while also avoiding the tentacles from the ground and being blown up.
My spies will provide access to the barracks above. Move swiftly. It will not be long until the Queen realizes where you are.
Up the platforms we ride, fighting our way out of those gross pits to the terrorist of majesty.
Intruders have breached the barracks! Sound the alarm!
The Nerubians have their own messed up versions of training dummies, captured prisoners that will do them just fine, to practice their rotations and sim their numbers.
Halt! Make them pay for every step in blood! Your mad quest to destroy my queen ends here! For the Queen!
Sikran, captain of Sureki, has established himself as an arrogant duelist, getting rid of his rivals one by one, until the queen herself proclaimed him captain of the Sureki, Ansurek's followers. He has never known the cut of an enemy's blade. Well, until now, I suppose. He'll blitz across the battlefield, hitting his marked foes, leaving behind a cosmic simulacrum of his victims. They need to go away before he detonates them, and we do so by aiming his decimates through those simulacrums.
My execution was flawless.
Whisper the Queen's name and they will carry you towards her inner sanctum.
You dare challenge the might of my empire? Kill my soldiers. Thousands more will rise. Your conspiracy is doomed. Raise your eyes and behold the pinnacle of Nerubian evolution. Tear you apart!
Rashinan is one of the more powerful troops in the Queen's arsenal, but enters the battlefield, still quite wounded, from her earlier fight on the Dawnbreaker. She too was twisted by Ansurek's experiments, transforming a once proud Nerubian into a monstrous winged horror. Trapped within her new form, shattered memories of her former self drive Rashinan into an unquenchable rage. Toxicity that manifests as rolling acid, waves that, like on the Dawnbreaker, we need to send away from our team and not towards it. And those wings give her the ability to create some distance from us. Distance that we need to quickly close to interrupt her acidic eruption.
No escape.
None of you shall leave this place. Your desiccated corpses will be a testament to any who oppose me. There is no need for us to entertain this filth any longer. The only thing that concerns us now is my ascension.
The Queen's inner sanctum is impenetrable, but her ego is not. Cause enough destruction and the Queen will deal with you herself.
Causing destruction is what we do best. And where better to start than at the Brood Pens, where Brood Twister Ovinux conducts abominable experiments with the Black Blood. This corpulent horror lumbers through the palace's cavern's depths, regurgitating inky sludge onto the hatchlings to observe its gruesome effects. The power of the Black Blood is no joke, and the Brood Twister will crank open one of the canisters, which will then start leaking some goo. On the ground are several different types of eggs that will hatch worm ants, tanky ants, or group ants. We can hatch the eggs prematurely by dropping experimental dosage upon them, and we need to do so to make sure that none of those ants get covered in the ooze, because that will make them far more powerful and far more difficult to deal with.
Well done. The Queen is furious over the destruction of her experiments. Keep pushing.
Within the Hall of Whispers, we find a rather interesting guest.
I infiltrated the Queen's court, Master. She suspects nothing.
Nexus Princess Kaivessa arrived at Nerubar Palace only recently, quickly establishing herself as a confidant of Queen Ansurek. However, rumors abound within the inner court that she may harbor a dark and deadly secret. If discovered, the princess is prepared to dispatch all witnesses without mercy.
You have seen too much, and I cannot leave any loose ends.
Who is this Nexus Princess? What is she in the palace for? What master does she serve? Is she friend? Is she foe? Questions that we do not have solid answers for, but if I had to make a guess, then I would say that she is here to assassinate the Queen. This is based upon an ability called Queensbane, a dark venom fit for royalty, and she also leaves the fight with...
Impressive! But did you believe you were fighting the real thing? I will leave the Queen to you. I get paid regardless. I will let your bounties grow before I collect. Until then, watch your back.
A bounty hunter sent out to get the kill. And when thinking about the master, I was hoping, perhaps beyond hope, that it could be Rafam, the supreme archaeologist. But I think that's more fueled by really wanting Rafam to be in WoW rather than the story. Going from the known names, then an obvious pick would be the Locust Walker. No friend to Xal'atath, and so by extension, the Locust Walker would want Ansurek taken care of as well. Would also explain how Kaivessa is such a powerful wielder of these cosmic abilities. Then, in the realm of something that we don't know yet, we could also look into the Ethereals as a whole. They have a whole history with Xal'atath and their war with Dimensius the All-Devouring. This is the reason why the Ethereals looked the way they do, and over the years, we've seen them as cosmic travelers, traders, assassins as well. What if she is simply part of a bounty hunter guild? And Kevessa, even though that she's a Nexus princess, she will be a bounty hunter for hire. Could we also become bounty hunters as a new class? Could we get playable Ethereals? Maybe, but not right now. Right now, we do our best to position the spectral images of Kevessa that mirror some of her attacks, so that we don't get sucked into her nether rifts, nor get sliced by her Nexus daggers. And say that you do want more details on the Ethereals and some of the stories that have been cooking in the background. I'll link one in the description down below, because it's a bit much to go over right now, and we should really focus back onto the palace.
The Queen has opened the inner sanctum to send her elite guards to kill you.
The conspirators are here. After I kill them, I will expose the traitor in our midst.
The only thing you will expose is your weakness. I will crush these insurgents in the name of Queen Ansurek.
Likely to cover your own treachery. After I rend them, I will deliver your head as well.
The most trusted advisors to Queen Ansurek don't even trust each other, harboring a deep hatred, even more powerful than their loyalty to their throne. While unleashing their considerable strength onto their enemies, each also fights to ensure their counterpart doesn't survive, which is obviously a weakness that we can use to our advantage. Takash will try to web us in place, but we can use those webbings to stop Anubarash from charging into the wall. He in turn will unleash stinging swarms, which can be used to break Takash's shield, pitching the Silken Cord against one another, although we also have the option to do their achievements, Love is in the Lair. Defeat the Silken Cords after Anubarash and Takash have gained the bond of friendship.
Everyone plots against me. I hear their whispers. Betrayers! All of you! Guards! Kill them all!
Do find it interesting that Queen Ansurek's most trusted advisors are not ascended. Even though that is what all the Nerubians have been trying to fight for, have been trying to claim, being ascended has become this whole great honor amongst their society, and yet, is there still something within the Queen that knows that she can't trust Xal'atath? Perhaps, but at the same time, she has fallen far too deeply. Her royal Queen's Guard are ascended, and the Whispers have convinced her that none of them can be trusted. None of them are worthy.
I must thank you for exposing the rot within my court. None of them were worthy of ascension. You will not stop the ascension of my empire!
In Phase 1, you'll want to avoid the green swirlies and move out of the big green pool on the ground. Feast is a big old attack on the tank, which you want to swap around with. Rotting Innards is a reactive toxin debuff on a random player, which they'll want to drop a little bit away from the boss and near the green toxic pool on the ground. Once the debuff expires, a bomb is left on the field with a circle around it. Move into the circle, but only have your designated detonator touch the middle when needed. And it's going to be needed when Ansurek unleashes her big AoE explosion called Venom Nova. Time it right and detonate the bomb so that you get thrown into the air and avoid the deadly wave of venom. The one who detonated the bomb then runs away from everybody else to drop off their big green circle, while from the detonation spots, waves of green goo are going to shoot out. Make sure to avoid those as well.
You are not warriors. You are lambs to the slaughter!
Until she reaches 100%. At that point, she'll hang in the middle and get a shield. She'll stay there for as long as the shield is active. While hanging around, she'll try to drag you to your death, so do run to the edge of the platform. After that, you get 3 times a toxin until she'll recast the pool, but do be careful. Waves of green deadly goo is going to fly out, while the toxins are going to slow you. Melee at your own risk.
Subjects of the Empire, prove your loyalty!
My life for the Empire!
Once the bubble is down, we go into Phase 2. The group splits up, kills the ads, and use the bombs left behind to shoot themselves up the platform. The Queen will rotate between the groups, trying to pull them down, while the group needs to deal with ads that cause laser beams, perform deadly ritualistic spells, while also activating bridges and moving from platform to platform.
Your blood is mine! Evolution always triumphs.
Lead us to ascension!
Feeding time. Vermin cannot be expected to comprehend my grand vision. Ascension is the only path towards saving the Nerubian people. If that means the extermination of non-believers, so be it. How have my soldiers failed? This entire generation of Nerubians is tainted, unworthy of ascension. They are food for my transformation!
Once all is cleared, we're blown back into the last fighting area, where she'll put Infest on a tank, who needs to run away from her to not have the ad spawn right on top of her. If Mom reaches her kids, they're gonna detonate for an insane amount of damage, so slow them, root them, kill them as quickly as you can. Then she'll pick 2 players for Abyssal Infusion, which will drop portals onto the field once it expires. Drop them so that you can actually use them to avoid her big attack at 100 energy. She'll once again try to drag us into the middle, but this time Cosmic Death is going to roll across the battlefield. Time it right and use your portal to avoid both attacks, and then repeat as before until she dies. I often get the question, why do you talk about tactics? But that is because it allows me to show more of the fight, and we had so much fun finding the queen. I do wonder if this one is going to get a mythic only phase, because she keeps talking about the next step of ascension, and upon her demise, guess whose feet show up?
Slender is the strand that guides your destiny. So easily overlooked, yet cutting deeper than the sharpest blade. Shh. It's almost over. Your ambition was rare, you know. Yet despite even betraying your own mother, here you are.
You promised
nothing. Yet I gave you everything. You were just not enough.
Don't you pity me?
I don't. You were a means to an end. Your survival wasn't necessary. I simply wish you had lasted a little longer. And now you learn the true lesson of the void. Only the strongest survive.
And so, Ansurek dies all alone, after listening to the whispers of Xal'atath. Her final words are not, "you promised," but an exact phrase was said by the dark Aram Modgut, a previous wielder of Xal'atath while she was still in the blade, who was also left to die. It shows how lucky, favored, powerful our Shadow Priests are, who managed to hold on to the powers offered by Xal'atath, save the world of the Burning Legion with the Harbinger in hand, and even suck out the corruption from the sword left behind by Sargeras. Powerful, lucky, or perhaps all part of the plan. The final lesson of the Void: only the strongest survive. It does not only speak to Ansurek's weakness compared to our strength, but also provides a very small piece of the puzzle for the story of Xal'atath.
It is ironic that the weakest of us may be the ultimate victor. Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, Y'Shaarj, and, well, only one would remain to consume the world that was always meant to be.
What road is it that she has walked to get where she is now, and what is it that she wants to accomplish? Is she purely a being of the void, or does she go beyond it? Is there more to it? All questions left to be answered, but first and foremost, I do wonder where it is that she came from. We're not sure if this takes place before or after the max level campaign, but I place it after the campaign as she is now traveling without the Dark Hearts. That would mean that she's no longer upset about what happens in the max level campaign, and she's now focused on the next thing around the corner. And it will also mean that the Nerubian army has already failed that part of the Harbinger's plan, so what is it that the Queen needed to keep us busy for longer? And if Xal'atath wanted us longer out of the way, why didn't she just give the Queen more power? That's why I'm wondering if we're going to see a Mythic-only phase where Xal'atath shoots out some more power for the Queen from the shadows, but we won't know that until at least another week. It is clear that she wants us for something, whatever that something might be, but these are all questions waiting to be answered in the next chapter and beyond. In this moment, we have done what we set out to do. The Queen of Nerubar Palace has fallen.
Your essence is mine!
Finally, this madness is over. You have spared our people a dark fate, Overcrawler. The truth of our alliance must remain hidden for now. But you have our gratitude.
While the Queen's plot is ended, I fear something worse looms in the shadows. Only time will reveal if we hindered this unseen force, or played into its hands.
What will the future hold for the Nerubians of Ashkahet? Not all Ascended are gone, and Xal'atath should still have the power to dominate their minds. Their former queen does not appear to be in a position right now to step up and lead them again. But perhaps we can think of something later down the line. Will these three take over as a council and lead the people into the future? Will we find out what is deeper beyond Ashkahet? Will we see playable Nerubians and so much more potential for the future? Not to mention all the little threats that have been building up for future patches.
And so the battle is won. Champion, all of Khaz Algar owes you a tremendous debt. When you first arrived on our shores, we were fractured and divided. But you showed us the path to becoming whole again.
You reignited our drive for purpose, and to define the parameters of our own existence.
We see now that traditions can change and evolve, and even be broken, if necessary.
The Arathi no longer cower in darkness. We bring the light in our hearts wherever we go.
This council stands stronger than ever before, with new friends and allies by our side. And we have you to thank for it.
You found your light again.
Sort of. More like I stopped running from it. Before he died, my father wrote me a letter. He said that I had to fight for peace. I thought that I had to become him because the world still needed him. Because I still needed him. But taking up his sword only led to war and death. I made mistake after mistake. I felt
unworthy. Varian Rin was a fierce, proud warrior. I respected his strength. But you, Anduin, you have your own strength, greater than any sword.
I'm not my father, but he never expected me to be. That's why he wrote that letter. To remind me who I am. It was his final lesson. And his greatest gift. It feels good to know we made a difference here. And yet, I can still hear the Radiant song echoing in my heart. Why did it lead us here? Was it solely to confront Xal'atath? Or is there something larger at play? I'm no stranger to feeling like a greater calling awaits. But this is different. Somehow. I just hope that we prove ready to answer it.
The Radiant song still rings out. And what is it trying to tell us? Xal'atath is not gone, merely retreated, connected to dimensions the All Devouring and Karesh, homeworld of the Ephirials. There's the question, what lies underneath Ashkahet? The Traegar of the past were unable to go further and answer the call of the song. There are the Hornir in Ashkahet, also with a song in their hearts, connected to mysterious roots, potentially the legend of Aluna'her and the speculated lifelands. There are the Goblins, who name-dropped Undermine, Goblin capital, which I really wanted back in Battle for Azeroth, but might now be added. There's the darkness of the Abyss, underwater threats like the cobwebs, Blood of the Old Ones, maybe a return of Azora. There's the Arathi Empire with Beladar, whatever that might be. Renilush, their emperor manipulating fates, potentially another sign of Azeroth. They've been building up a fair few threats that they can pull on for the future, but those topics I want to dive more into in separate videos. Not to mention that we also know for the next big patch, it's gonna be their 20th anniversary patch, so we got some time. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!